Good evening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Kansas Football Friday. I'm your host, Leon Liebel. Kansas Football Friday presented by Sports in Kansas, and the CEO, the founder, the mastermind, I like to call him, of Sports in Kansas is Chet Coupland. He's my co-host every Friday night here as we bring you live action from all across the state of Kansas. We'll be checking on all kinds of games on this week number 3 of Kansas high school football. And Chet, good to have you here once again. And again, we survived to another week of Friday football in Kansas.
Yeah, it's great to be here for week 3 in the state of Kansas. All the uncertainty, of course, that we've seen in the offseason, in this season. Some teams right now in quarantine, some games happening across the state that we didn't expect to happen. The good thing is we're working together across the state, games coming in at the last minute of that sort. And we're going to talk about a lot of football tonight, a lot of good players, a lot of players to watch, a lot of teams to watch, some stat leaders. Of course, we're going to bring in multiple games as well and keep you highlighted the best we can all night here on Kansas Football Friday. And
live interviews, live reports, again, from all across the state of Kansas. Kind of a big rivalry night already. We've got one of our feature games will be out in Dodge City, the 83rd annual Hatchet game between the Garden City Buffaloes at Dodge City against the Red Demons. That's always a big game in southwest Kansas. We'll be checking in on that. Plus, we have Frontenac at St. Mary's Colgan. You're part of this state. That's a big rivalry as usual.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry. Used to be even a bigger rivalry back in the day, Leon, because at one point these two teams were in the same classification, and they would oftentimes go 8-0, and then a Week 9 matchup would come. One would go to the playoffs, one would sit at home. And, you know, the story goes way back that the Catholic grade school was in Frontenac and the Catholic high school was in St. Mary's Colgan. So, you know, the rivalry developed then when the kids would go to school in Frontenac, then go over to Colgan and play Frontenac in high school. I played in the game back in the day. Unfortunately, I was in high school when Colgan was on the 66-game winning streak. So I never got to beat St. Mary's Colgan back in the day. It's an outstanding rivalry. And sure enough, that quarterback that beat me all those years ago, his name is Mark Smith, and he's the head football coach of the Frontenac Raiders. So wow. Talk about switching sides there. And his dad, of course, the longtime coach at Colgan that retired a few years ago, Kansas Sports Hall of Famer Chuck Smith. Now Sean Seamatter, the head coach there. I believe Frontenac's got 4 or 5 starters back tonight that have been out for one reason or the other the last couple of weeks. They're off to an 0-2 start, lost to a Class 5 program out of Oklahoma last week. So we're going to keep an eye on that game down in southeast Kansas. And another game to look at, Leon, tonight is Tonganoxie and Paola.
Oh, there's a lot of great games. We will be checking in on those games soon as we have kickoff in a few minutes from now. Well, kickoff has begun across state in many of our games. But in week number 3, some individuals are starting to stand out across the state of Kansas. And, of course, Sports in Kansas with Chet has done a fantastic job of pointing out some outstanding athletes, some outstanding performances so far. And, Chet, I'm going to let you take it. These are our 10 to watch tonight.
Yeah, and this isn't necessarily the top 10 players in the state, but I thought these guys were important to highlight that could carry their team to a victory tonight. A lot of these guys are in situations tonight that are going to be some tough games, some close games, and we thought we'd break down some of these guys. William Welch at the quarterback position of Perry LeCompton, outstanding a year ago, over 2,000 passing yards, a state runner-up finish. He is the real deal there. I feel like he is really one of the top 10 quarterbacks in all classifications of Kansas, plays in 3A and has really put them on another level there. Aiden Edens, of course, the quarterback for Bishop Carroll, in his 3rd year as a starter there, and of course they're taking on Derby tonight. He was going to be a key factor tonight, Leon, if they're able to get the win against the Derby Panthers. You look at Maize South quarterback Colin Shields, over 500 yards passing this year so far. Of course, they're a team right now that's 2-0 that's highlighted in the Wichita area. I think that they have a shot to be pretty good. They play Hutchinson tonight, and they're a rare 2-0 team. That's weird to say Hutchinson's a rare 2-0 team, but they've not been very good here as of recent. But Colin Shields, the real deal for Maize South. Devin Neal, of course, we were talking about him, the running back out of Lawrence High School. He is a two-sport standout. He is committed to Kansas to play baseball and football. He is that good. The Chesty Lions are for real under Steve Rampy. Cooper Marsh, the quarterback out of Mill Valley, all-state selection a year ago, over 2,000 yards. He's completing 85% of his passes entering week number 3 against Bentonville, Arkansas. Timothy Dorsey of Miege, he opens up the 2020 campaign, and who's he get to play? St. Thomas Aquinas. He passed for 3,000 yards a year ago, leading his team to his 6th consecutive state title. The guy in the next On the list next is Tank Young, who will be facing off against Miege. 2 years ago, the non-senior player of the year. He has an Iowa State offer. He may be only about 5'6", 5'7", but the kid is the real deal. Will he be one of the top running backs in all classifications of Kansas for Randy Dreiling there at St. Thomas Aquinas as they are in week number 2 of their season after not playing in week 1. Tyler Bowden, a running back transfer out of Free State, now at Tonganoxie. He's going to have to be a real force tonight. They take on the Paola Panthers in a key matchup in Class 4A in the Frontier League. We talked off early on. You like the name of Lakin Farmer of Halstead. He's a physical athlete, defensive side of the football, as well as plays a little bit of everything. Halstead and Hoisington tonight. We're going to check in with Connor Nickel at some point to talk about that matchup, but he will be the key to the game there, as well as their offensive line, if they're able to get the win tonight against a very good Hoisington team. And then, of course, we got to go to the 8-man ranks. I like to spread it across. I'm not saying these guys are the top 10 in the state. Just kind of want to point out really kind of almost every level in the state. Tyson Struber, Canton Galva. He's got offers from KU and K-State at the next level. 4.4 speed. He is a big-time weapon for Canton Galva, last year's 8-man Division I state champion.
And football is kicked off across the state of Kansas on this 3rd week of the season. As we are looking at your screen, we have 4 games up there right now as we'll check in on the action. One of our feature games out in Dodge City, the Hatchet game. Dodge City Red Demons, they're the home team in the red uniforms, of course, taking on their arch rival, the Garden City Buffaloes. These two schools, 50 miles apart. The first time they played, Chet, 1903. First game, though, they played for the Hatchet was 1938, and it's been a tradition for a long, long time out there in southwest Kansas. And because the schedules got so messed up early in the season, didn't know who was going to be playing who, this game got moved up. This is the earliest these two teams have played in the season since 1964, as we see Dodge City with the football to start this game out of the shotgun there. Quarterback Tucker Smith looking for a screen pass and incomplete.
Yeah, such a storied rivalry over the years, and of course, you being from Dodge City, you're more dialed into this. But man, Leon, there's been so many good players on both sides over the years of these two football teams. I know it's been a long time since a state title for either one of the programs, 1999 for Garden and 1970 for Dodge City, but man, there's been some good players out there.
And by the way, Dodge City does lead the Hatchet game series 50-28, and there's been one tie. And Dodge City looking for its 3rd straight victory over the Buffaloes. They won last year 17-7 as they complete the pass down the field. Again, we'll be checking in on this game as we'll be checking on all kinds of action across the state of Kansas. So once again, you're watching Kansas Football Friday presented by Sports in Kansas. I'm Leon Liebel along with Chet Copeland. If you're not familiar with our show, again, we're going to bring you all the highlights, live action, live reports, live interviews, and talk much more. And that's also... Again, we talked about individual performances. Things are starting to, numbers are starting to pile up now with week number 3. And, Chet, we have some more great individuals to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to break down some of the stat leaders today and talk about some of the stat performers across the state. Of course, we do those each and every week at Sports in Kansas, powered by Mammoth Sports Construction, of all the stat leaders across the state. Next week, we'll release defensive stuff, but of course, as you can see on our board, you see some of the top passing leaders across the state. Kyler Simrad, he is a 4-year starter for Goddard. If you remember his name, he was thrown into the fire early, as a freshman whenever the Sullivan kid went down, and a year that they went to the state title. And you look at him, and of course, he's a player, 565 yards this season so far. And Isaac Stanton, another player, Baser Linwood, having a big year. Ethan Hauk of Parsons passed for 1,700 last year. Parker Kavanaugh of Salinas Central, 552 yards. Of course, his dad, Brian Kavanaugh, the former quarterback of Kansas State back in the mid-1990s. Andrew Corey, we kind of focused on him a couple weeks ago. A very good quarterback. They won the Silver Trophy last week, Junction City over Manhattan. They're 1-1 and lost in a tight one to Bishop Carroll that we saw here a few weeks ago. Colin Shields on here again. Cade Oliver having a big year of Alma Wabanzi in Class 1A. Of course, he's got 468 yards. Isaac Salmons out of Hodgman County. You probably recognize that name, Leon. Hanston and all the Salmons for so many years. It seems like they have one on their team every year.
That's amazing.
Same family. And, of course, Dylan McCarty of Wellsville, 447, and Dylan Bice of Thunder Ridge. So you'll see a lot of 8-man guys kind of go off the chart. And, of course, we go to the rushing leaders. And you look at, of course, Shad Blanc out of St. Francis, an outstanding player, 500 yards for him this season. Tyler Bowden, who we already talked about, leads the state. Jared Box and Republic County quietly 2-0 this year. I believe that's the first time in 5 years that they're 2-0. We talked about Andrew Schwinn with Daniel Soxie a few weeks ago from KQ2 of Mar Hill. He's 451 yards this year. Tyler Good at 419. Lakin Farmer again. Gatlin Jewell out of South Barber. Dalton Hilliard of Douglas. Jake Hutchison out of Oswego. And Trent Spiker out of Donovan West. So the numbers starting to add up, and we go to the receiving yardage. Tanner Barkus, our Labette Bank Athlete of the Month last month, had a huge game last week and 3 touchdowns, 240 yards, 373 this season. Marcelo Busi out of Junction City, his connection with Andrew Corey, big-time player. Of course, I think I wrote Jordan Brown down wrong, but he's actually out of Baser Linwood. He had a huge night, 346 last week. And then you look at a lot of these other guys. Matt Freeze, a guy that you'll see on your screen tonight, Leon, out of Dodge City, 226 yards. He was first team all-WAC 1 year ago, but gone is Bo Foster.
Yeah, Matt Freeze had a big game, I believe, last week against the Liberal in that 35-0 win for Dodge City, their first win of the year. Again, that's one of our feature game tonight. That's in your bottom right corner, Garden City at Dodge City. The Hatchet game, and Garden City now on their first possession in the all-white trimmed in brown, the brown and white Buffaloes of Garden City. And now we go up to our game one in our and this is another rivalry game we were talking about earlier, and this is Frontenac and St. Mary's Colgan of Pittsburgh, and these two schools are just a few miles apart, right?
Yeah, they're basically connected. So, I mean, St. Mary's Colgan's in Pittsburgh, Frontenac and Pittsburgh are basically connected. You don't know when one ends or the other one begins. So this is a rivalry matchup because all these kids play baseball together in the summer. They play junior high sports together. In past years, we've had kids transfer in and out of different schools to go back and forth. So St. Mary's Colgan, a Class 2A program, Frontenac, a 3A program, but outstanding tradition at both football programs. I believe Colgan is number 1 all-time in winning percentage in the state of Kansas, and Frontenac is number 2 all-time in total wins behind Lawrence High School. So a lot of tradition in the football capital of Kansas, Crawford County.
Yes, it is, and it's amazing. We always talk about Pittsburgh down there. If they just had one high school, there's a lot of talent, but they spread it around with Pittsburgh High, Frontenac, and, of course, St. Mary's Colgan. And now we have Paola and Tonganoxie is on your screen, so we check in this game, and this is a good matchup tonight.
Yeah, the quarterback, a really good player for Paola this year, Garrett Williams, and of course just throw a touchdown pass there.
Wow.
In his first look at him to
good
make
timing.
it 7-6 here early on with 7:04 remaining. So thanks to Paola Sports Live. We also have Tonganoxie Sports Live as well. BJ Harris, shout out to him. For putting all these on the map this year. Of course, he's a partner of ours, the Kansas Shrine Bowl. But Paola, a very good team, coached by Coach Dumper, always tough. And, you know, they may not throw the football a lot, even though they did right there. A very good rushing attack, always physical on the offensive line. But really look at Tonganoxie tonight. Their linebacker, Brandon Martin, a transfer out of Kansas City Piper. Their running back, a transfer out of Free State. Tonganoxie was very good 1 year ago. They, of course, lost to Bishop Miege in the playoffs. But all of a sudden, they lost a lot of the key guys, and they got Dallas Bond back. But they added 2 of the best players in the state as transfers.
And we now head way out to western Kansas, Wichita County. That's Wichita County in Leota, and that's where the Hill City Ringnecks are taking on Leota and one of your favorite mascots, those Hill City Ringnecks. And Leota have a lot of good tradition out there. It's, of course, the home of Steve Tasker, who went on to play for the Buffalo Bills in 4 consecutive Super Bowls and All-Pro. One of the best special teams players in the history of the NFL, and that's his old home field out there is Leota taking on Hill City, and Hill City with the football deep in their own territory. Actually, it's Leota with the football, looking to try to get in the end zone here.
And it looks like Tristan Porter on the
two-point
score
conversion.
there.
Okay, my bad. As they're off to a 14-0 lead already against the Ringnecks. Now we go a little further east and south in Dodge City with the football against the Garden City Buffaloes. Red Demons at home and Memorial Stadium. It's 53rd year at stadium, and now an interception. Garden City picks it off at the 40, 50-yard line and down into Dodge City territory. So a big turnover there early in this game, and Garden City comes up with a pretty good field position after that interception. Not sure where the receiver was on that play, Chet, but now we have a penalty on the play. Penalty on the play.
Christian Reyes on the interception there for Garden City. Senior corner, 5'9", 150 pounds.
Against a matchup in the Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, and probably the top team, well, no doubt the top team in the WAC so far has been the Hayes High Indians. They're taking on Liberal tonight. Hayes off to a 2-0 start. They've been very impressive. We've talked about them the last couple of weeks and their outstanding individual talent they have on that team with some several Division I players.
Yeah, Hayes has been a surprise, and I think the last 4 or 5 seasons they've had a losing record, so a 2-0 start for the Hayes High Indians. We certainly know that the recruits were there, but putting it all together on the football field on both sides is definitely a different story. But there's some cats for sure in this Western Athletic Conference. Maybe not have the total team that you see maybe in some of the powerhouses in Kansas City or Wichita, but there's certainly players here that have been Division I players and players that should be recruited. And for one reason or other, sometimes the WAC conference kind of goes under the radar in recruiting. Maybe it's location.
And again, Dodge City keeps the football, even though they had that interception. The penalty brought it back. I believe it was pass interference, and maybe that's why there was no receiver to be found on that interception. But Dodge City with the ball now moving as they are inside the around the 24-yard line of Garden City with the football out of the shotgun. And it's another spread offense team, as we see so often across the board in high school football in nearly every state now. And Dodge City began its season losing big at home against Cape and Mount Carmel, 42-0. But bounced back last week to beat Liberal 35-0. Garden City still looking for its first victory of the year. They lost their opener against Manhattan and then lost a 21-20 nail-biter against the Hutchinson Salthawks a week ago.
And you don't often see a quarterback that's 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. But Nedler, of course, the all-state linebacker, has Division I FCS interest. He is at the quarterback position right now after being the WAC Defensive Player of the Year a year ago.
Yeah, he's number 9 for Dodge City, and he does it all. It's he's kind of a wildcat offense right here, but he's stacked up after that snap. Looks like a loss of a yard. He's kind of the all-American kid, too. Very good student, great baseball player as well. And I understand, well, his father's the choral teacher, I believe, at the high school, and he's a pretty good singer, too, so he does it all. He can sing the national anthem and score touchdowns. It's that penalty, I believe, is against Dodge City, so they're going to march back. Again, the Red Demons at home against Garden City. The Hatchet game, one of the oldest rivalries in the state of Kansas, as, again, we show you the games we're checking in on right now across the state of Kansas. Your upper left, that is, once again, Frontenac and St. Mary's Colgan, the big rivalry down in Crawford County in Pittsburgh.
And I believe we're going to have Clint Ryder on here any minute. He's trying to call in right now, Blue Valley Northwest head coach. We're going to talk about that big win last night. They beat Blue Valley for the first time in 7 years last night. So we'll talk to him, the former Heston Swather coach.
Yeah, a huge win for Clint Ryder and the Huskies of Blue Valley Northwest right there on 135th Street in Overland Park. And that was a huge win as once again we're checking in on, well, we got Dodge City and Garden City in the bottom right for you. Bottom left, that is Hill City, the Ringnecks out in Wichita County out against Leota. That's way out there in western Kansas, and I know you've made that trip as well.
Yes, I have. Charlie's in Leota, the place to eat.
Again, I mentioned Steve Tasker, but they've had some other good players over the years. And it always seems like they have a speedster out there in Leota. A lot of fast guys with track stars and football. And I think we have Clint Ryder with us right now, the head coach of Blue Valley Northwest. Coach, thanks for joining us tonight, and congratulations on the 24-17 victory over Blue Valley, the perennial power Blue Valley Tigers. That was a big win for you last night.
Yeah, it was a big win for our program. Our guys have worked really hard for the last 3 years to take some steps to help build our program. And Blue Valley's a great program, and they have a great team. And our guys came out and fought and kind of took a big step forward for everything they've been trying to do over the last few years.
I know you've
talk about your.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lee.
Go ahead, Chet.
Talk about your quarterback play, Coach, and how good that was in Week 1.
Oh, I mean, Mikey came out. He had a great game. He had a couple couple interceptions, but they do a great job of switching routes over the top. But he had 120 yards on the ground, big situations. Did a great job escaping the pocket, and he's just an added dual threat for us to be able to get an extra run blocker. And he's just somebody that we can count on each and every week to make big plays in big moments. And I think guys that can play big in big moments those are the guys you want in that position.
Coach, on the other side of the football, your defense played great last night. I believe they shut out Blue Valley in the first half. And what was going right for the defense in that game?
Well, Coach Ahern, our new DC, he's done a phenomenal job. It's been a weird year just with all the restrictions that we had in the summer. He installed an entire defense in the matter of, about 6 weeks. They really only got the tackle for about a week before we came out for our first game. So just everybody being on the same page and, guys in the secondary communicating with each other. He's brought great communication. He's a great teacher, and he's brought that to our entire defensive staff. And our kids have really responded well. And those guys on that side, they love to play defense. I know it's an offensive world now, but they love to play D. And I sure like having him on board because he's done a phenomenal job. But they were just really sound up front. Our guys rallied to the ball really well. And I think, assignment alignment football, and let those guys go play. And they did a good job of making sure we kept the athletes in front of us that Blue Valley presents.
Well, Coach, all levels of high school football, a former All-State athlete at Southeast Cherokee. You were the head coach there, helped turn around that program, and then you went out to Heston and made your mark in the Central Kansas League, of course, almost winning a state title not too long ago. And then you go from 3A to 6A, and you actually slept on my couch whenever you had the interview a few years ago. So we'll joke about that later on. But what was the transition like from 3A football to Class 6A, and how tough is the EKL?
Well, I think you never really could prepare for it until you get in it, and we had a lot of work to do just, getting our program kind of back on track and getting guys excited about playing football at Blue Valley Northwest. But, just the variety of fronts and coverages that you're going to see each and every week, not to mention the amazing athletes that we play, week in, week out. There is no week off, and there hasn't been the last 3 years. And, so we've really just tried to pull our young kids in, try to set our culture, and our guys have really bought into that. But the EKL is an absolute load, and there's no way to really describe other than the fact that coming from a small school, where you're going to get a few coverages, but you're not going to get split field a lot of the time, and so I think as a coach, a young coach coming in, I thought I knew a lot, and I figured out real quick. I got a lot of learning to do. So I'll continue to keep doing that because our coaches up here are really good and they adjust each and every week. And, you better have something on the back burner in case you see something you're not ready for. So it's been fun to go against those guys and just kind of grow in a coaching journey. But it's also been awesome to just watch our guys progress and not only the guys that are there now, but the guys that came before them that kind of helped set up where we're at right now. So.
As we continue our discussion with Blue Valley Northwest head coach Clint Ryder, his team again defeated Blue Valley to open the season last night, 24-17. We're just watching there, Paola and Tonganoxie, that game tied 7-7. Coach, I want to ask you, Blue Valley Northwest known, now as a 6A basketball powerhouse. We always talk about multi-sport athletes. You got basketball players crossing over to your football team, and if you do, how does that affect your team athletic-wise?
Well, Coach Fritz has built a phenomenal program. It's a perennial power, and every year you've got to get through them to compete at the state level or in the EKL. So, that's been a big benefit for us because when we have guys that are on the basketball team that come out and play, they know how to compete and they know how to win and they know how to play in big moments based on what Coach Fritz has done. So, Mikey Pauley's a guy that plays heavily on that team. They got a lot of returning guys coming back next year. Grant Stubblefield, he's a sophomore running back for us. He played a lot of varsity minutes last year as well. So we've benefited. Markel Hood came out and played receiver for us last year and gave us some really valuable minutes and some big time catches in big games. And so it's nice for us to have that as somebody that we can lean on and help benefit each other. And we both want our guys to go out and compete. And whether that's, we have a lot of baseball kids too that are competing in the spring. Our quarterback's a Nebraska baseball commit. So we want those guys to go compete in other things, whether it be wrestling or track or basketball or baseball. So I think that's been something that Coach Fritz has promoted a lot for us as well. So we benefit each other and we help each other out in that aspect.
I think one of the cool things about you is really developing those athletes in the weight room. And I'm not just talking about football. I see all your posts, of course, for all the sports there. And I know that weight room has been very instrumental in your career. And it's probably been pretty tough during COVID, not having as much time with kids. But, of course, you have, rack performance. You have online stuff and workouts that you can do online. What's it been like being a strength and conditioning coach during this time, and how valuable is a strength and conditioning program to high school?
Well, I think that your football programs, especially are built on your strength and conditioning, but I think as a strength coach, the one thing that you've got to do is you've really got to sell the benefits of strength and conditioning to athletes that may not be, prone to jump into that environment. And, when you can create a welcoming environment for all athletes, places where they feel special, and it connects to other sports. I think that's one of the things where, you get athletes that cross over, they work out together, and, they're able to go support each other, whether it be, at the game or just even in class, ask how they did. But just building that mentality of kids love to see their body change. I'm older, and I love to see when my body, starts to change from working out. So when I was 17 and full of hormones and wanting to see, those things those biceps pop out for the first time, it's really just creating a culture of togetherness between all sports. And I think as strength and conditioning coaches, especially if we're football coaches in the weight room, we really have to do a good job of creating a welcoming environment for your non-traditional sports that come in, and also for the female program. We had 105 kids the first year. I was there in all of our weight classes combined, and we were at 400 kids last year. So we raised that 400% in 3 years, and I think that's been instrumental in creating a culture and togetherness and creating a bond between all sports.
And again, visiting with the head coach of Blue Valley Northwest, the Huskies, Clint Ryder, his team winning last night, a big win over the Blue Valley Tigers, 24-17. Coach, you mentioned your sophomore running back, Grant Stubblefield. I'm going to bring this one up because we're featuring Dodge City Garden City tonight. Grant's father, David Stubblefield, former quarterback for Dodge City. I don't know if he's ever mentioned that to you, but David Stubblefield led Dodge City to a huge upset over Garden City when he was the senior quarterback. So there's something you can toss out to Grant and his dad a little bit. So there's good genetics there.
There's no doubt about that. I think they had a 40 race out in the street during quarantine, and David almost got him. If I could be that fast when I was his age, which I'm not calling him old either, but if I could be that fast at his age, but the young gun got him on that one. So, but I know that David's got. You can just tell.
Yeah, he was an outstanding athlete, and there's his old Dodge City Red Demons moving the football down the field against Garden City. Chet?
Well, Clint, we appreciate your time today, man. Best of luck. I know you're happy to be out there and finally playing during this long layoff, but, man, awesome win, and keep it going, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, guys. Go Dogs.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much. Clint Ryder, the head coach of Blue Valley Northwest, his team off to a 1-0 start after that big win over Blue Valley last night, 24-17. Again, you're watching Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
I don't know about you, but I'm glad to be open and back to business. These last few months have been hard on everyone. Here at Lewis Automotive Group, we've always promoted buying local, and now it's more important than ever. As our economy gets up and going, let's protect the people closest to us. Support our local businesses first. Together, we can put all of this behind us quickly while still keeping safety at the forefront. From all of us at Lewis Automotive Group,
be smart, be safe, and buy local.
How do you see the world?
Ha!
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into
everyday miracles!
Like riding my bike.
Breaking boards! Ha! Hugging my mom.
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Oh, you gotta talk about that.
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 170,000 participants here in Kansas who take part in high school sports or activities.
And welcome back, everyone. I'm Leon Liebel along with Chet Copeland. You're watching Kansas Football Friday as we check in on live action all across the state. Scores and more, live reports as well, and live interviews. We just saw Clint Ryder from Blue Valley Northwest in a long interview with him, Chet. And we have some more individuals who are standing out early in this season, and I believe you've got another list for us.
Yeah, we have some rankings that we also put out, and of course I'll have to change some of those because whenever I put that out, I actually had Blue Valley on that list, but Clint Ryder knocking those guys off last night.
That was last night.
Clint making me look bad as I released these yesterday afternoon, and this is just something that I put together of where I think the top 10 teams are in all classifications of Kansas. Now, there's a lot to be said because a lot of these teams, some of them, haven't played yet. Some of them just one game. So there's a lot to be determined. I think Mill Valley is that team across the state. Aquinas and Miege right there with them. I think Lawrence is going to have an outstanding year. Of course, the number 5 team falling last night. Blue Valley North to a big win last night over Blue Valley Southwest. They got a lot of really good players. Bishop Carroll, the 7 and 8 team Derby playing tonight. In Junction City, we saw lose to Bishop Carroll in a tight one and beat Manhattan last week. And May South, I really like their offense, and then their defense is always good under Coach Pfeiffer there. He's been the only head coach in that program, so very good. And these are the small schools, Class 3A through 1A. If I had to rank the top 10, this is where I would go with them. I think the Andale Indians, they're incredible. They run a great program under Coach Schmidt. Of course, Caden Winter, kind of their leader on both sides of the football, on offensive line, defensive line, as well as the Roland kid having a big year. Perry LeCompton, we talked about William Welch, Thad Metcalf, Hayden Robb. They are playing Holton tonight, so we'll give you an update on that here in a bit. Topeka Hayden, of course, it's weird seeing Hayden as a small school, but they are in Class 3A. Rossville won a shootout a week ago, 58-57. They, of course, coached by Derek Hamas, and then you look at the Horak kid, a junior, one of the top players in Class 2A football. Wichita Collegiate, nobody's talking about them. They should be in the Wichita area. They're unranked by a lot of people, but I really feel like they're a top 10 caliber team in those classifications combined. Silver Lake, they've not played yet. They open up tonight. Nemaha Central, of course, a tight one with Holton. That's their only loss, defending 2A state champion. Halstead plays Hoisington tonight. And southeast of Saline and Jackson Gibhart, the number 10 team I have this week. As we look at 8-man, combined divisions in 8-man, there's 8-man 1, 8-man 2. Canton Galva and St. Francis, that was your state title game last year. In fact, that was 36-0 at one point, and it ended up being, 66-36 or 69-36, whatever it was. It was incredible, the comeback that Canton Galva had to win that. Well, this year, Canton Galva's in 8-man 1, and they stay there. St. Francis jumps down to 8-man 2. Hanover and Axtell, of course, in the same district. And I really like Madison a lot at the number 5 spot. Not too long ago, they were winning some state titles down there, and that's one of the coolest setups for 8-man football. They feed the buffalo right before the game, and they roam right up there behind the fence, and there's buffalo roaming behind the fence as they're playing a high school football game, and an incredible setup there just south of Emporia. Awesome.
Wow. Hey, you had some of your top teams there, and, of course, some of those teams playing each other tonight. Bishop Miege, St. Thomas Aquinas, that's that big matchup in Overland Park tonight, and that game is tied early 7-7. Also, Bishop Carroll got an interception from Matthew Morrell, and took it in for a pick six. So Bishop Carroll leads Derby in the second quarter, 7-0. The Derby Panthers, of course, they were ranked number 1 in 6A to start the season, got blown away by Mill Valley, and got a win at Newton last week, and now trailing Bishop Carroll 7-0 in the second quarter. As we check our 4 games we're checking in on right now across the state of Kansas. Again, your bottom right, that's Dodge City at home against Garden City. No score in that game. Red Demons were marching a little while ago, but they fumbled the football as in Garden City territory, and the Buffaloes took over, but the Red Demons back with the ball. Also, Hill City against Leota, and Wichita County High School. Leota up 28-0 now against the Ringnecks as we take the full look now at Dodge City against Garden City in the Hatchet game rivalry. Again, the earliest they have played in the season since 1964, and, well, that's just a result of another crazy year because the schedules were all mixed up at the beginning of this year. Nobody knew exactly who was going to be playing, and they moved this game up, and so that's why the early matchup between these two WAC rivals.
And got some score updates for you across the state. Leon, Bentonville, Arkansas leading Mill Valley in the second quarter, 14-7. Washburn Rural leading Pittsburgh 7-6. As you mentioned, Carroll up 7-0 on Derby. Perry LeCompton leading Holton 14-7. That's an outstanding matchup there. Mar Hill up 12-0 on Nickerson. Plainville 6, TMP 3. Lansing 14, Shawnee Heights 0. Humboldt 6, Neodesha 0. Campus 14, Salina South 13. And we'll have an update hopefully from Connor Nickel at some point, who came on last week. He is at Hoisington Halstead tonight. Hoisington leads in the second quarter 12-0. So after Hoisington lost so much, they are a pretty darn good football team and certainly are a force in Class 2A this year. In other games, Manhattan and Hayden still scoreless. And how about Oakley? They hadn't won a conference game in like 5 years, and they're up 7-0 on El Saline. They could go 3-0. May South and Hutch tied at 7. Central Heights up on Northern Heights 7-0. Lawrence up 7-0 on Olathe West in the second quarter. Inman up 7-0 on Sacred Heart. Heston up 6-0 on Pratt. St. James Academy up 14-6 on Eudora. And Lakeside and Osborne both tied at 0 as we continue to keep you updated at Scores in Kansas, powered by Eddie's Toyota.
And again, also check it on live action across the state of Kansas, and Paola Tonganoxie is one of our games as well. That game was tied early, 7-7, and I think Paola may have taken the 14-7 lead. I'll check in on that score right there. As it was 7-7 when Garrett Williams completed a pass to Bo Robinson to tie Tonganoxie. Tonganoxie got off to the early lead in that game when Bowden from Tonganoxie took the first play from scrimmage and went 60 yards, and he was mentioned as one of your players to watch, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, a transfer out of Free State, 1,800 yards a year ago. The kid can fly as well. I would imagine he would have had a big spring in track and field. However, I think he ran like 10.8 or something as a freshman, and, didn't have a track and field season last year. And, of course, he wanted in-person classes and the uncertainty of what was going on. So now he's at Class 4A Tonganoxie, which certainly is going to be a force. I mean, Paola and Tonganoxie are certainly in contention. However, there's that team there waiting on you at the East at the end, and that team's called Bishop Miege, and nobody's been able to get by them in the last 6 seasons in that classification, as they are the 6-time defending state champions in 4A or 4A1 since we switched over back to Class 4A.
Yeah, looking for the 7th consecutive state title this year, Bishop Miege, and once again they are tied with St. Thomas Aquinas 7-7 early, and now Paola and Tonganoxie are also tied again, 14-14. Once again, Tonganoxie scored on the very first play from scrimmage. Tyler Bowden, as we mentioned, as Chet was just talking about, 60 yards from the line of scrimmage on the very, very first play. So as we go back out to Dodge City and Memorial Stadium, no score between the Buffaloes and the Red Demons, these two big rivals from southwest Kansas, the only two 6A schools out there in southwest Kansas, 50 miles apart. This is for the Hatchet game, the old rivalry, the 83rd annual Hatchet game. Now this 1938 was the first Hatchet game. They have played football against each other since 1903. I'm not sure how they traveled between. That's 50 miles was kind of a long way in 1903, but.
The casino definitely wasn't there then.
No, it wasn't. They might have laid a few bets on the game. But, hey, back out to Leota, Kansas, where the Indians lead 28-0 over the Hill City Ringnecks. A lot of color in the on the field there, both teams. Nice uniforms.
And you were talking about outstanding players from that. We mentioned Steve Tasker, but Levi Gillen, class of 1993, went on to play at Tulsa. He was one of the fastest guys in the state, 47-48 range in that 400-meter dash, multiple state titles. And, he had over 2,000 yards rushing. And at one point was the all classifications player of the year. They were 11-man back then, but he was the all classifications player of the year, I believe, in the fall of 1992. So not just Steve Tasker. They've had other guys like Levi Gillen back in the day.
Yeah, they've had a lot of good sprinters over the year for some reason out there in Leota. By the way, Steve Tasker, of course, grew up in Leota, played high school football there, but he was born in Smith Center, which brings me to the fact that Nolan Cromwell, we've talked a lot about on this show the last couple of weeks, he played at Ransom, but he was also born in Smith Center. Something's in the water in that town because that's one of the great high school football towns in America, actually. So, but it's amazing that those two guys both born in Smith Center, even though they went on to play at different high schools.
A lot of storied tradition there for a town that's, 1,300, 1,500 people. And, in fact, we put out a post today that somebody sent me, and I thought it was really cool. It was about Roger Barta, who retired back in 2012. And, of course, Coach Barta, one of the all-time, greats in Kansas coaching. They won 79 games in a row. He was 323 and 68 all-time. They, of course, had the New York Times best-selling book by Joe Drape, Our Boys, A Perfect Season on the Plains with the Smith Center Redmen. He coached numerous players that went on to college football, several that went on to start at Division I college football, and a couple in Braden Wilson, and, of course, the great Mark Semino, College Football Hall of Famer that played there. Brooks Barta, of course, the coach at Holton, was a starter, and his son. And, something that he put, a quote, I thought it was really cool. In quotes, someone here is the best football player on the team and someone is the worst, he said. It's time to forget about that. Let's respect each other. When we respect each other, we'll like each other. When we like each other, we'll love each other. That's when together we'll become champions. One more thing, guys. We don't talk about winning and losing. We talk about getting a little better every day, about being the best we can be, about being a team. And when we do that, winning and losing takes care of themselves. Roger Barta, Smith Center Redmond, 79 consecutive wins. I thought that was really cool, and shared a piece on Coach Barta and all that success of Smith Center. And you said last week he was also at Joaquin Trego beforehand that.
Yeah, that's right. I have a good friend that played for him at Joaquin, and he always gets upset that nobody ever mentions Roger Barta was a coach there at Joaquin, but he is certainly a legend at Smith Center. And, of course, Smith Center also the home of Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, so some more football. But here's another trivia from Smith Center I got for you. Frank Patee. He was an All-American at the University of Kansas. He was a captain on the 1947 Orange Bowl team. He's from Smith Center. He's also the father of Erin Brockovich. Of course, a movie was made about her with Julia Roberts. So there you go.
Wow. I did not know that.
Buddy.
That must be because you're a little bit older in age than me. So maybe the NFL draft, I just looked it up, 1949 round. I didn't even know they had 23 rounds. 1949 NFL draft, pick 228. Born March 11th, 1924, Smith Center, Kansas, halfback.
There you go. Smith Center, maybe the high school football capital of the world. All the connections there we can find. It's amazing. Garden City just scored a touchdown, but I think that was called back on a penalty. So the second time the Buffaloes have had a big play called back on a penalty. Earlier they had an interception that was nullified. Now they no touchdown there for the Buffaloes. No score in this game. Dodge City, Garden City out in Dodge. The Red Demons at home against the Buffaloes in the Hatchet game.
I'm really impressed with the size that you see of the linemen on both sides of this team. A lot of physical, big players. Of course, you look at this Garden City team, one of their players starting for Indiana right now. His brother on that team, Terrell Elliott, and, of course, DeMarcus Elliott, our Sports in Kansas 6A Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago. You look at that left tackle, 76, Trey Nuzum. He's got an offer from Akron, being recruited heavily at the Division II level. He's a very big, strong kid, and should have a lot of looks at that FCS level and Division II level. And left tackle, as you see him there, very strong kid.
And again, here are the Buffaloes, Garden City with the football. The running room up the middle, and the quarterback keeper down to the 5-yard line. So the Buffaloes threatening to score here in the second quarter against Dodge City. So we'll keep it right here, the Red Demons and the Buffaloes. And you're talking about the Buffaloes, the live Buffaloes. You know, years ago, Garden City had a guy, Buddy Heaton Jr., who used to ride a Buffalo out under the field and lead the team. And he was his father, Buddy Heaton Sr., they're both animal trainers, and they were able to train buffalo, and they actually rode the buffalo. He wore a football helmet and everything, and would lead the team. It was pretty impressive. Again, the Garden City Buffaloes in the all-white, the visiting team tonight. They trying to snap a 2-game losing streak against their arch rival. Dodge City won 17-7 last year. So they stopped the run right there for a loss of a couple yards in the play.
And I got to give a big shout out to the administration at Dodge City. We were out there for the Shrine Bowl in 2019, and Jay Gifford and Sean Snyder and all those guys rolled out the red carpet for us in our Sports in Kansas Shrine Bowl Combine. That indoor facility they have there is incredible. And Summer Foster as well. She had me out there, the coach's wife. She had me out there for the Power of Social Media tour last year in Dodge City. Got to speak to all their students there, and just a great facility. I made the mistake, though. I had dinner with my buddy and coworker back in the day, Sean Boston, who's the voice of Dodge City. I ate at a really good place there in town and thought, heck, it'd be 10 minutes or so to get to the high school out there in Dodge City. I had no idea what it was like when 2,500 kids are all going to the same high school. It took me 45 minutes to get to Dodge City High School just across town. Incredible. It's incredible the traffic that you wouldn't think it, Leon, but it's incredible that traffic at 7:30 to 8 a.m. in Dodge City.
Oh, it's a metropolitan out there. I can't even talk. As we check in on the highlights right now, going over to Overland Park, we've got Bishop Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas. A huge matchup here. It's Miege now leading 14-13 in the second quarter. This looks like a good one, Chet.
Yeah, two of the perennial powers. You see Miege take in the touchdown there to go up 20-13 in the second quarter. About 5:40 remaining here, courtesy of 8-10 varsity. So we'll check on this from time to time. Some outstanding players who mentioned Timothy Dorsey, the quarterback. He is committed to Illinois State, I believe, at the next level. St. Thomas Aquinas, the guy to look at on that team is Tank Young. He is an incredible back there as we see Garden City going for the field goal here on 4th and 3.
Trying to take the lead here in the second quarter, and that kick is up and no good. No good, so this game remains scoreless. Chet, you mentioned the facilities at Dodge City. Again, the Memorial Stadium in its 53rd year. It was just announced by the school district. They're going to embark on some major renovations on the west side of that stadium, I believe, next year. New locker rooms and whatnot, and possibly getting a new press box later on, but going to improve the Memorial Stadium, which has been around for more than 5 decades, as the Red Demons at home tonight against Garden City. And once again, we got St. Thomas Aquinas, Paola Tonganoxie. That's the game we just have up there right now for you, and it's 14-14. This is a good game. 5:52 left to go in the first half.
Blake Poggi, the quarterback there for Tonganoxie, a very good player, and you see Bowden, the running back, not the biggest guy in the world, but he's going to chip away and get a lot of yards. But this Tonganoxie football team really put on the map last season. As I mentioned, only lost coming to that of Bishop Miege, and of course Paola's only loss was to Bishop Miege, I believe, last year as well. Paola, a very good Frontier League team, and most famous probably Paola football player of all time. Leon, who am I going to go with there?
Ah, man, you got me. You can't believe it.
Brian Shea.
Oh, yes. I did a lot of stories on Brian Shea back in the day at Emporia State when he set the record, NCAA rushing record. Then didn't the Chiefs give him a little bit of a look right out of college?
I believe he was on the practice squad for a year, and he won, of course, the Harlan Hill Trophy in 1998, which is the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy at Division I, but for Division II players. And that kid was a multiple-time state wrestling champion, a stud linebacker, stud running back, and if he played now, he probably, I know he wasn't as far as height-wise, he would have some Division I offers. He was that good of a player back in the day. And Paola, 1994, they were incredible winning the state title that year. That year, incredible for high school football. We had Mark Semino over at Smith Center. You had D'Angelo Evans at Wichita Collegiate and Brian Goolsby at Dodge City. Lamar Chapman at Liberal High School. That's kind of a lot of those guys that made that K-State program what it was.
Yeah, Liberal, they were putting out some big-time Division I players there back in the 1980s. You mentioned Lamar Chapman. Went on to play for the Cleveland Browns for a while. Also, Doug Terry, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I believe we're going down to southeast Kansas. We have Sean Fry from the Parsons Sun with us tonight. Sean,
how's it going?
The man in the mask at Marvel Park tonight. How are things going in Parsons, Kansas?
Well, right now, Prairie View's up on Parsons 19-0. Parsons has the ball. They're facing a long third down right now. It's about 4:50 left to go here in the first half. Prairie View scored quickly on 2 opening drives, one forced by one coming off a fumble recovery. Prairie View having some success in the run game early. I really like quarterback Davian Klein and running back Josh Jacobs. Not Josh Jacobs. I'll get you that name here in a second. But, it seems like the Prairie View offensive line looking good today early on.
As far as fans being there at Marvel Park, the first game of the year, what's that experience like in Parsons with fans at the game and actually having a high school football game in Parsons?
Well, obviously, it's a great experience. Parsons has taken some unique steps with regards to social distancing in the pandemic. I think one of the most notable ones is that they installed or put up some bleachers on the opposite side of the field. Usually, this is a one-sided complex, but the Parsons administration went ahead, and I'm trying to get myself centered on this, my fault. The Parsons administration put up some bleachers on the opposite end zone, and that's where Prairie View and visiting fans will operate over the course of this season. They'll have their own concession stand, they'll have their own parking lot, they'll have their own entrance and exit from the facility. So I think that's the biggest measure that I'm seeing here at Parsons today.
Sean, we talked a lot about the changes with the pandemic this football season, but we are in week number 3. Are things becoming, I don't want to say routine, but we talk about the new normal and all that things, but people are just getting used to this now, going to a high school football game with what's going on right now?
I think people are definitely getting used to it. I think I'm seeing much more compliance with mask wearing and people social distancing in the stands as best they can. You're right; it is becoming part of the routine. I think a lot of this routine is similar to what Kansas players have already done. I think the kids are more used to it than the adults than anything.
By the way, Bishop Mies just took a 21-13 lead on St. Thomas Aquinas, just scoring a touchdown there to give you an update as we check the highlights there. Chet?
As we look at the Southeast Kansas League this year, nobody's really playing this week besides Labette County, another team that you cover that's home against El Dorado tonight. How weird is that of course, Pittsburgh's playing and Parsons playing, but they're independent in this league. How weird is that in your coverage area without a lot of teams playing this week?
It's definitely it was a lot of history kind of made in the wrong way this week. Labette County being the only active league school playing this week. Fort Scott had a positive test, and so they're quarantined. Independence played Fort Scott last week, so they're forced to quarantine because of the positive test on Fort Scott. And Fort Scott was going to play Coffeyville this week, so Coffeyville's not getting a game. And then Chanute has a bunch of positive tests, and they had to cancel their game with Jeff West. It seems like the virus is kind of circling this area a little bit, and it makes me a little weary, honestly. I'm trying to stay on top of it as best I can. Just keeping up with the cancellations in and of itself seems like a whole new beat for me. And it's certainly a weird Friday night. Obviously I'm very blessed to get to come cover another game and blessed to see how the Parsons community is going to operate in its first home game. But it is certainly weird seeing so many teams that I'm so used to seeing on every Friday night be out of luck this week.
As far as quarterback Ethan Houck for Parsons High School and Tanner Barkus, our Labette Bank Athlete of the Month, it seems like those two could have a very solid connection this year at quarterback and receiver for Parsons High School.
Absolutely. Ethan Houck and Tanner Barkus. I'm actually walking right by Ethan Houck right now. What? So if you want to say hi to say hi, Ethan.
Who's that? Oh, what's up?
There you go. Ethan Houck right on the sidelines there.
That's good stuff.
I don't know a reporter who gets you more in-depth access than I do. Obviously Ethan Houck, Tanner Barkas, big connection early on. Tanner Barkas, he's always been a threat. Tanner Barkas has always been one of the best cornerbacks for the Parsons Vikings, and now you're seeing the fruits of his labor pay off offensively as well, because he's really tasked to replace a special receiver in Derek Williams, who was a Shrine Bowl selection last year. And I think Tanner Barkas is certainly living up to that mantra. And by the way, Prairie View just scored another touchdown, and now they are up 25-0 with 3 minutes left in the first half, pending the extra point.
And I want to give an update on that Aquinas Bishop Miege. I misspoke. It was Aquinas that scored the touchdown. They have now tied the game 21-21 in the second quarter. That big matchup between St. Thomas Aquinas and Bishop Miege up in Overland Park tonight.
Well, Sean, we appreciate your time for coming on. I'm sure we'll catch up with you in the next couple of weeks, man. But have fun down there, and we'll stay updated with you on social media at Sean E. Fry. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chet. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Sean Fry from the Parsons Sun does a terrific job of covering high school sports in the southeast part of the state, and it's interesting that his schedule is kind of week to week, bouncing around with games canceled and new teams going to schedules. It's kind of an interesting time for all of us, obviously. But we are watching some football and keeping up to date on what's going on week number 3 of Kansas high school football. You're watching Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas. We'll be back with more right after this.
It's okay to shop around, but make your last stop Lewis Chevrolet of Garden City. We have the largest pre-owned inventory in western Kansas, and we back them with GM certification. That means you get an upgraded ride and peace of mind with a 172-point inspection, 3 months of OnStar and XM radio, 2 years of no-cost maintenance, and a 6-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Plus, at Lewis Chevrolet of Garden City, you never pay retail. Stop by Lewis Chevrolet of Garden City today or click LewisChevy.com. Buy local. Buy for less. Buy Lewis.
So, what is love?
Love is being independent.
Love is dancing.
At Shriners Hospital for Children, love is a new smile.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, love is caring for a child regardless of the family's ability to pay. Learn how you can send your love to the rescue at lovetotherescue.org.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool. On the field. Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends. Yeah! Be great.
Participate.
And welcome back, everybody, to Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas. I'm Leon Liebel, along with Chet Copeland, as we check in on live action and scores and more across the state of Kansas on this week number 3 of the Kansas high school football season. And, Chet, of course, we want to hear from viewers out there, or fans out there who are watching, and they certainly can send us pictures, and we'd love to hear from them, too, as they're, if you're at a game tonight across the state of Kansas, as we see 4 games at once on your screen, and that includes our feature game, one of our feature games down in the bottom right, and it's halftime in Dodge City, the Hatchet game. No scores. Both teams head to the locker room 0-0.
Yeah, some good games on the screen right now. Paola Toganoxie at 21-14. I believe that Frontenac game that you see as well as 7-0 Frontenac in that one. And, of course, scoreless in the Hatchet game, and an outstanding game courtesy of 8-10 Varsity that you see prior, against Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas, two programs that really could win a 5A and 4A state title respectively. Now, Mill Valley still sitting there on 5A and has been the king of Class 5A since 2015 with 3 state titles. But 2 years ago, St. Thomas Aquinas, who still has some of those players on the team, won a state title and maybe the best offensive line in the history of Kansas high school football. Now, those guys are gone. One at Oklahoma State, one of them transferred to Texas. It's committed to Auburn. But St. Thomas Aquinas is still a very good football team, one of the best coaches in Kansas history, and Randy Dreiling. And what he did at Hutchinson, Leon, which I'm sure you covered some of those teams, is just quite incredible.
Well, I still think it may be the greatest accomplishment of any coach in Kansas history, and there's been so many great coaches throughout the years. But when he took over at Hutchinson, they had a long losing streak. Hutchinson was not known for football, believe it or not. And he took over and immediately, as they say, changed the culture, got things going, got kids in the weight room, and got his system in. And, it just took off from there. And one of the great dynasties in high school football in the state of Kansas, Randy Dreiling at Hutchinson with the Salthawks.
And got Aquinas not their first ever state title, because they got well over 100 of them in all kind of sports, but football, their first ever state title back in 2018, and of course beating Wichita Northwest that year. And as you can see, the tankster right there, Tank Young, number 28, one of the best backs in Kansas, incredible talent, won't get a lot of carries, and you have some blowout wins in the past, but when he's carrying the football, he is certainly a load, and there are some games that they can go to him. He can go 40 or 50 times if he needs to in a game, and we've seen that before, although hasn't happened all the time. But look out for Tank Young. He is an outstanding player, number 28 in the backfield, about probably 5'6", 5'7", maybe. Not a very big guy, but he is a load.
Again, this game at St. Thomas Aquinas in Overland Park. Saints at home against Bishop Miege, two of the great programs in the state of Kansas, and so many great programs in Johnson County right now. Of course, Mill Valley, we've been talking about them the last couple of weeks. They've been so impressive, and they defeated St. Thomas Aquinas for the state championship 5A last year. They are playing Bentonville, Arkansas tonight, Mill Valley. They are trailing now 21-14 in the second quarter. Chet, what can you tell us how that matchup come about?
Well, I think Bentonville had an open scheduling date, and of course, everything with the Sunflower League was kind of up in the air, because if you remember, Mill Valley, who was in the Eastern Kansas League, decided that they were going to join the Sunflower League a few years ago. This was the first year of that, and on your schedule, you had all of these Shawnee Mission and Olathe schools, and they weren't playing football. So you had to go out and find some opponents whenever those other schools weren't, because those schools, DeSoto and Mill Valley, they were still playing despite being in the Sunflower League. So they went out and found opponents, much like we saw Bishop Carroll, of course, do in the Wichita area, because they're in the City League, and they had to go out and find all kind of opponents as well. As you see quarterback Blake Anderson go down there. But the Eastern Kansas League, it is so good. We had Clint Ryder on earlier. I don't think people quite realize how good it is. We can talk about the top teams in the AVCTL or a top Centennial League team, but I'm telling you right now, Leon, there's a reason that we've had 3 or 4 lost state champion teams, 2 of them, in fact, in the last 5 years in Kansas. Blue Valley North was one of those teams, and of course, Mill Valley was one of those teams. You could finish 4th or 5th in your league and still compete, and get a state title, because they're spread across 4A, 5A, 6A. Now, there's only one 4A team, and that is Bishop Miege. And even to get on an honorable mention list for quarterback or running back in this league, you darn near got to be an all-state caliber football player, because the quarterback position is incredible. There's some guys that are JV players in this league as juniors that come on the next year, seniors all-state. It is that deep. And some guys may be backups on this team that could go on to play college football at the next level. I'm not saying Division I, but it's just that deep some years in the Eastern Kansas League. In my opinion, the state's best league. However, that Sunflower League getting a little bit better with the addition of Mill Valley.
And again, Mill Valley trailing Bentonville, Arkansas in the second quarter, 21-14. Mill Valley just got on the board, by the way, from with a pass from Cooper Marsh to Jacob Hartman. Cooper Marsh, he's had a great season so far for Mill Valley, the quarterback, and he was one of Chet's players to watch tonight, one of the top 10 players to watch. And so he's making us watch Cooper Marsh with that touchdown pass. And I believe we have a guest with us tonight, and we're going back. Yes, we got Connor Nickel with us. Connor, what's going on out there?
Hello. It's a great night. Elton Brown Field, Hoisington, Halstead, a really big CKL matchup. It's first half, Hoisington 12, Halstead 6. Halstead really Hoisington really controlled this game early. They scored on 2 of their first 3 plays. Since then, it's been back and forth, multiple punts on both sides. Then Halstead's Cameron Core did get a long TD run. So again, halftime, Hoisington 12, Halstead 6, and 2 league members here that generally don't match up. This is the first regular season matchup between these teams in a number of years, almost 10. They did match up in the playoffs a couple years back. 2 very similar or very run-heavy teams. It's been a really solid first half so far.
When we look at the rushing attack of both teams, neither team, Connor, I feel like is going to throw the football a lot. I know Halstead entering the game, I think, has only thrown the football 9 times this year. Central Kansas League is known for their running backs, their physical offensive line. How much running is going on in this game?
Well, Halstead has not passed. And Core, of course, this is his first year starting at quarterback. He's looked to pass several times. Hoisington has been extremely sound on defense on the edge. They've got several players. Cole Gillen has 1. Holt Hanslick has 2 for sacks / TFLs. So they're making a lot of big plays. Hanslick, of course, who was hurt last year, has come back, has ran the ball extremely well. He scored their first TD. Hoisington has thrown it 1 time. Obviously, Mason Haxton, their quarterback, a 4-year player, tremendous 2-sport athlete, great ball player as far as a point guard too. But these are 2 teams that really run the ball all the time. This week coming in, I really felt like Hoisington's depth was going to be really key. They've got 4 or 5 players carrying the ball a lot, guys who we certainly know, such as Morris, Holt, players like that. Well, of course, Halstead really relies heavily on Farmer, their quarterback last year, transitioned to a tailback. He's got over 10 carries in the first half.
We look at, of course, the physical line play of Halstead. I think the size kind of jumps off the page for them for Class 3A. There are weight room guys. I know you've interviewed some of them, but how are the Herman kid and the Grider up front for Halstead?
Well, Grider's looked really good. You know, obviously, it's a story that I wrote for you last year, Chet, that I know got a lot of attention. Really digging into that Halstead line. Coach Grider, of course, Doug's father, really enjoys having his linemen play in the backfield growing up. He feels like they're very athletic, and then they grow, so they're big guys, but they can still move extremely well. You know, obviously Herman had been hurt in the past, was expected to have a really big season this year up front. Certainly has. Caden Lopez, who of course had started on the line in the past, has also transitioned to fullback. He's got several carries. The big thing that we saw, Doug Grider has really moved around a lot. I charted him several plays. He was playing at right guard. He's been playing out at tackle too. On defense, of course, he's led their team tackles sophomore, junior seasons, and so far he is their top tackler for 2020 as well. He's got over 20 stops so far, and he's made several very solid plays at backer tonight too.
Again, we're visiting with Connor Nickel, our reporter from Western Kansas out in the Hayes area, as he is watching Hoisington and Halstead. And Chet, I'll let you go with what you got coming up there.
Yeah, as far as Hoisington, looking at them, we know they lost so much from last year. Wyatt Pedigo, one of the best 2-sport athletes we've ever seen in that classification. And I really thought that they were the 2A state champion last year. They lost to Norton in maybe a game that they shouldn't have lost, and Norton had an incredible season. Riley Filburn gone as well. Is it pretty impressive to you now that Hoisington all of a sudden, I think that we got to call them a contender in Class 2A?
Yeah, it was really this summer, as I do every summer, as we all do, just going through, talking to people, combines in the phone, texting, just everything that we do. And I really thought, wow, you know what? Hoisington, on paper, even without Wyatt Pettigo, probably the best athlete to ever come through this school, is maybe your 2A West favorite. Obviously, Garden Plain, who lost a ton on offense, changed coaches. Norton, who obviously returns two tremendous players with their quarterback now, Jonah Reuter, and of course Hawks on the line. But I was like, my goodness, Hoisington brings back so much. And I remember talking to Mason Haxton at the Sharp Combine this summer, and I said, Mason, how good do you think Holt Hanslick can be this season? And he smiled and he goes, we think he's going to be a stud. And that really stood out. Obviously, Hanslick had been hurt last season. He missed the entire year. His two older brothers were tremendous players, and I just felt with their depth, you don't see that depth very much at 2A. Coach Baer does a tremendous job. I really think Josh Ball, who's been overshadowed a bit, mainly because of his three older brothers, Brandon, Jonathan, and Christopher, all tremendous athletes here. And some of those other guys who may have been overshadowed a bit, I thought, my goodness, their depth is really good. And you return basically a 4-year starting quarterback in Mason. And the thing that stands out most about Mason is that he just pitches the ball so well. And that flex bone option, their second touchdown was Cade Mason on an 88-yard run, and he had wide open lanes. Haxton got the snap, an absolute perfect pitch, wide open ground, and a score. So while of course those option pitches don't show up in the scorebook, Mason Haxton really makes everything go out there.
Again, we're visiting with Connor Nickel, our Western Kansas reporter, as we're watching right now Bishop Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas on your screen. That big game up in Johnson County and Overland Park tied 21-21. I think they're going to half. Yes, they are. It's halftime now there, 21-21. Big game in Wichita tonight. Derby at Bishop Carroll. Bishop Carroll and Derby are tied 7-7 at the half. So two big games tied at the half.
Well, Connor, we appreciate you coming on. We'll be looking for your what impressed you tomorrow at Sports in Kansas. Great work out there, man, and enjoy the second half.
Hey, certainly, fellas. Hey, thank you so much.
All right, Connor, thank you so much. Connor Nickel, everybody, and it is halftime across the state of Kansas in many of our games, so we're going to take a bit of an intermission. We'll be back with more on Kansas Football Friday right after this.
I've been with Lewis Automotive since 2007. I've worked in the service department, finance, and sales, so I've experienced all aspects of the dealership. I enjoy the car business because I get to see people from different walks of life every day. I grew up in a small Kansas town, so I take pride in getting to know my customers. I think that's what sets Lewis apart. We treat our customers like family. I'm Mike Shook, General Manager of Lewis Chevy Cadillac of Garden City, and I'd like to help you join the Lewis family.
My daughter was diagnosed with scoliosis.
Connor's right leg was shorter than the left.
Her issues were so rare.
I wanted a doctor who's experienced at treating my child's exact condition.
That's why we went to Shriners Hospitals for Children.
These doctors develop the most advanced procedures.
They do so much research.
With some of the most innovative doctors in the world.
And they put all their best thinking, all their love into healing my child.
And they did it, regardless of our ability to pay.
My daughter is who she is today because of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Oh, you gotta tell me about that.
the innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 170,000 participants here in Kansas who take part in high school sports or activities.
At Lewis Automotive Group, our pre-owned inventory is dwindling. With no auctions, it's been difficult to replenish our stock. So we're offering big money for your trade. In most cases, we can get you into a newer vehicle with fewer miles with no change to your payment. Have a vehicle you just don't use? We want to buy that too. So we're offering free appraisals. Stop into any Lewis location and trade in and trade up. Or get cash money for your car or truck during our pre-owned buyback event at Lewis Automotive Group, Dodge City, Garden City, Liberal, and Hayes.
And welcome back to Kansas Football Friday, everybody, presented by Sports in Kansas. I'm Leon Liebel, along with Chet Copeland from Sports in Kansas. And for most of our games right now, it is halftime across the state of Kansas as we keep you up to date with live action scores and more here on Kansas Football Friday. And Chet, anything jumping out to you tonight on this third week of the high school football season?
Well, I think we got some outstanding football games tonight. You know, we've watched the Aquinas-Miege game, and it's tied right now. You know, we expected that to be a coin flip style matchup, and I think it's going to be. It's going to come down to really the second half in that one. You know, looking elsewhere across the state, Mill Valley tied right now with 7A Bentonville, Arkansas at the half as well. I believe that's 21-21 at last look from Scores in Kansas. So, you know, that's another game. You know, that's a school that's probably, 3,000 plus students, at least double the size. Class 7A, they have 4 or 5 Division I players. Mill Valley is not afraid to play anybody. That Bentonville, Arkansas team came up to Rockhurst last week and beat Rockhurst. So that gives you the caliber of program that they are. Of course, Mill Valley, a powerhouse in 5A. Miege, a powerhouse in 4A. You know, Aquinas, a powerhouse as well. So those are some things that have stood out to me. And, you know, Hayes is another team in 5A in the western part of the state. Maybe we'll highlight them a little bit. Maybe they're not, that Mill Valley or Wichita Northwest or Carroll, but they could go 3-0 tonight. They're up 21-7 on Liberal, headed at halftime. So that's a team that we've certainly highlighted quite a bit. And the game that was on our screen earlier, Frontenac and Colgan in that rivalry game, that's Frontenac 21, Colgan 0 at the half as well. So Frontenac getting some of their players back is a different Frontenac team that we've seen lose the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, another big game we're kind of keeping an eye on is out in Wichita. Bishop Carroll taking on Derby. That game in Derby, I think earlier I said Bishop Carroll, but it is 7-7 at halftime. Bishop Carroll trying to beat Derby for the first time. The Golden Eagles have had quite a season so far. They won by 1 point over Junction City in Season 1 last week. They survived against their arch rival Cape, and they're undefeated 2-0 and trying to go 3-0. Again, though, it's halftime, 7-7, Derby and Bishop Carroll. Another game we've been keeping an eye on, kind of our feature game of the night. We have a camera crew there, and that is out in Dodge City for the Hatchet game with Dodge City, Garden City, and that is tied at the half. No score, 0-0 between the Red Demons and the Buffaloes.
Yeah, and you look at Dodge City, they had a really good kicker that was back for his junior year that, had 50 to 55-yard range. Well, he moved, Jose Valverde. He was a guy this year that they really could have depended on, and, maybe that would be a factor. I'm sure that they probably have some weapons on the team. There's, of course, a lot of soccer interest out in western Kansas, and it seems like those schools normally have pretty good kickers. I know Garden City just missed a kick, but somebody needs to score here. Out in Dodge City, this almost looking like a baseball game.
As they're getting underway at the start of the second half out at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City. By the way, it looks like a pretty decent crowd at that game tonight as well. Apparently they don't limit the number of fans during this pandemic in Dodge City, as it's a kind of a pooch kick there taken at the 20-yard line and now in trouble and going to be driven back to the near the 15 and nearly fumbled the football, but that's where Dodge City will start the second half. Again, no score in this game, 0-0. And you mentioned earlier another Western Athletic Conference game, Hayes High leading Liberal 21-7. That game may be a little closer than we thought. Liberal got beat by Goodland. That game got so much publicity when the Goodland coaching staff was quarantined. The athletic director, the superintendent, took over and beat Liberal in that game. And then last week, Liberal got shut out 35-0 by these same Dodge City Red Demons. But Liberal kind of hanging a little closer to Hayes tonight, 21-7 at the half. That might be a bit of a surprise, at least the score right now.
Yeah, Hayes has had a little bit of trouble of putting some teams away. We kind of saw that with Great Bend last week and Goddard Eisenhower in week number 1. But we mentioned so many outstanding games. You know, Paola and Tonganoxie tied at the half as well. We talked about Bentonville, Mill Valley tied at the half. Both of those games 21 apiece. And how about Perry-Lecompton and Holton? That's also 14-all as well. Those were games that we thought were just going to be outstanding matchups tonight. And so far, you know, as far as our preview and radio shows have went this week, we've sounded like we know what we were talking about, unlike last week with some of the blowouts across the state. So hopefully we're kind of settling in here a little bit after week 3, and some of these teams are kind of what we thought that they were, and some of their players are back and all that. And I know certainly not everybody's playing tonight, but some teams in week 1, some teams in week 2, others in week 3. So we're starting to figure out a little bit about some teams across the state in this week 3 across Kansas.
Well, one of those games, Chet, last week, our feature game was Holton and Chapman. We thought it was going to be much closer. Holton blew out the Fighting Irish in that game. However, tonight, Chapman bouncing back. They lead the Abilene Cowboys 33-0 at the half. So Chapman trying to bounce back, a battle there in Dickinson County. Chapman over Abilene at the half. But those Holton Wildcats looked pretty good last week against Chapman. But, again, they have a tough one tonight. As, again, we're watching Dodge City, Garden City, and nearly a sack in the backfield. Quarterback got the ball away, and Garden City Buffalo defense bringing it there. The quarterback that was Alden Nedler. They kind of switch out on quarterbacks, Red Demon offense, I've noticed. But they're going to be forced to punt the football from deep in their own territory.
Yeah, not often do you see, as we mentioned earlier, 6'2", 6'3", 215, 220-pound linebacker. I know he's not your prototypical quarterback in high school. He's going to run the football a little bit more and he's going to throw it, but you don't see a lot of linebackers playing quarterback in high school football.
Talked about the kicking game at Dodge City and lost their kicker who moved away. He was an outstanding kicker, and they do have a great soccer program in Dodge City. In fact, they won the state 6A state title just a few years ago, which was kind of unusual for a Western Kansas school to win a state title. Those are really dominated by the Johnson County schools. But again, Dodge City have a terrific soccer program. I believe they're off to an undefeated start this year. But again, we're watching football right now. The American style is Garden City Buffaloes in Dodge City territory with first down, their first possession of the second half.
Some updated scores across the state. Junction City, one of those teams that we highlighted their quarterback. I still feel like they're a very good 6A team. They're beating previously undefeated Topeka Seaman 26-14 in the third quarter. Central Plains, their first game of the year this year, they win in the third quarter 46-0 over Otis Bison. And funny story there, Leon. Otis Bison, of course, is 2 different towns. And my co-host back in southeast Kansas that I've done radio for 8 or 9 years, he thought that Otis, their mascot, he thought it was the Bison.
Oh, my. Well, that makes sense, yeah. I just didn't see the hyphen in between Otis and Bison. By the way, Garden City, they have a terrific opportunity to score wide open, but pass over the receiver's head and incomplete. Still 0-0 out in the Cowboy capital, Dodge City and Garden City. Red Demons of Dodge and the Buffaloes of Garden City. As once again, you're watching Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas, checking on live action, highlights, scores, and more. And certainly we'd love to hear from you as well. You can send some pictures if you're at a game. We'd love to see your pictures as we have hashtag KSFanCam, KSFanCam. And I think we're going to check on we're going to stay with Dodge City and Garden City right now. Again, 0-0. This game just second half just getting underway out in Dodge.
Got some more halftime scores as they're probably getting ready to start the third quarter in some of these. Galena leading Riverton. Of course, those two schools about 2 miles apart. Galena 22, Riverton 0. Clearwater 54, Mulvane 7. Columbus up 14-0 on Girard. El Dorado up 12-0 on Labette County. Chapman up 33-0 on Abilene, as you mentioned earlier. Goddard up 21-13 on Arkansas City. Mar Hill, Mount Academy up 27-6 on Nickerson. That was a game that was scheduled because of COVID, obviously. Those two schools quite a bit of ways, Atchison and Nickerson. Rossville up 47-12 on St. Mary's in the battle of the new turfs there. The same school district, Rossville and St. Mary's, both getting Mammoth Sports Construction turf in the same year. DeSoto bouncing back this week after losing last week to Mill Valley. DeSoto leading Baser Linwood 28-14 in that one. Some third quarter scores as well. Smoky Valley up on Hillsboro 24-16. Buhler up on Winfield 14-3. Victoria up on Trago 46-8. Andover up 14-0 on Salina Central. And then Rock Creek up 14-6 on Marysville after that crazy game last week with Rock Creek and Rossville before we jumped off. That game actually ended up being Rock Creek lost Rossville won 58-57 over Rock Creek in that shootout from 1 week ago.
And right now we're taking a look at Paola and Tonganoxie. This game just underway the third quarter as well. 10:53 left to go in the third. Second half underway, and Paola leading 21-14. This has been a pretty good competitive game. Back and forth they've gone. And again, Tonganoxie scored on the very first play from scrimmage. It's Tyler Bowden, a 60-yard run. Got them off to a great start, but they're trailing now 21-14. This is a game we certainly want to keep an eye on throughout the evening because it looks like it's going to come down to a terrific finish, Chet.
Yeah, two very hard-nosed, tough teams that like to run the football. As you can see, a big physical offensive line for Paola. And passing is something that they don't do a lot, but they got an exceptional athlete in Garrett Williams at quarterback that they can do some dual threat stuff with. He's a very good player that we highlighted in the preseason on Faces in Kansas. Really probably one of those top 15, 20 quarterbacks in the state of Kansas this year, but more of a running threat, but can be called a dual threat. And, of course, Brandon Martin, a player to look for on the Tonganoxie defense. He played at Piper 1 year ago. In fact, he played at Piper like 4 weeks ago. And now, of course, he is on Tonganoxie's team with a lot of these kids transferring around, not knowing if they were going to have football or play or not this year. And you see Brandon Martin right in the middle of your screen, middle linebacker.
Well, we got some great football underway tonight. It's week number 3 of Kansas football, and that pass incomplete, long pass attempt, nice throw, just in a crowd as well, nearly got him. By the way, we're also checking on St. Thomas Aquinas at home against Bishop Miege, a terrific matchup between the two Catholic powerhouses in Johnson County. And that game at halftime, still at half, it's 21-21. The other big powerhouse in Johnson County, Mill Valley, the number 1 team in 5A. And you have number 1 overall, I believe, right, Chet? Mill Valley, after their 2 weeks?
Yes, I have Mill Valley. And it can kind of be Miege, Aquinas right there with them. There's not a lot of difference to me between those programs. And coming into the year, my number 1 overall team in the state was Derby. So that's changed since that. But how can you pick? How can you pick against Derby, though, coming into the year of what they've done? And they returned some key players. And maybe it's just a little bit of rust they're shaking off.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do we know what's going on there? Because, again, we expected Derby to be a powerhouse once again, 26-game winning streak, 2-time defending 6A state champion, great coach Brandon Clark. They get blown out in their first game in Mill Valley. Really struggled to hold off a Newton team last week, and now tonight they're tied 7-7 against Bishop Carroll. Is there maybe we just thought too much of them going into this year? I know they're still a solid team and a good team and a terrific program, but maybe just not quite what we thought.
Yeah, I think, they're one of the programs we'll see a touchdown here, the first score of the game, with finally a score here, Leon.
Yeah, the Garden City Buffaloes are on the board, and we've seen them reach the end zone before, only to have it called back because of a penalty, but no flag on this play. Touchdown, Garden City. They're up 6-0. Finally, somebody on the board in the third quarter at Dodge City.
Caleb Weiss at the quarterback position, 6'1" sophomore, if that was number 3 on the screen with the TD there.
Again, they'll go for the extra point here and try to go up 7-0 against the Red Demons. Again, this is the Hatchet game. If you're not familiar, one of the oldest rivalries. Not only one of the oldest rivalries in Kansas, one of the oldest rivalries, I believe, west of the Mississippi, Dodge City and Garden City. And now we're going to go back to another game in the Western Athletic Conference. Our first look tonight, Hayes High Indians against Liberal. This game in Hayes. Hayes up 21-7, and we've talked about this fine team for the last couple of weeks and some terrific athletes, some terrific players for Hayes High.
Yeah, and this is one of those years that you kind of wish Hayes High was in Class 4A on the West because it's wide open this year. Who that team's going to be, nobody really seems to know. Instead, they bumped up to Class 5A this year. And, Great Bend, who they beat last week, bumped down to Class 4A. So there's a lot of teams that are on the map in that 4A West. But 5A West, man, it's just absolutely loaded. And I assume this game would be maybe a little bit more of a blowout than it is. I know Liberal lost Cyrus Dunlap from a year ago, kind of their, playmaker that did a little bit of everything. His dad, the head coach there. And, of course, Liberal has dropped off over the years. I know that soccer has kind of become the popular sport out there now, but that's kind of hard to believe because, Leon, in the 80s and 1990s, man, I don't think people don't realize now, especially kids playing high school football, because they weren't born at the time, they have no idea how good those Liberal teams were in the 1990s.
And they just weren't good teams. I mean, winning games they produced some athletes. They produced some big-time Division I players, some NFL guys. I mean, that's how good they were. It was amazing. We talked about Lamar Chapman, who went to K-State and played a little bit with the Cleveland Browns. And Doug Terry, I mentioned him as well, played with the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, the Liberal with the football here and trying to go all the way for a touchdown against the Hayes High Indians and down inside the 5 and out of bounds at the 2-yard line. So a big play for Liberal there, trailing 21-7 here in the third quarter. Bit of a surprise. Now I see
a very big
flag.
surprise.
We have a flag on the play.
Yeah, you mentioned some of those really good Liberal teams. Jeremy Tooman won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and
had a long career with Pittsburgh.
Incredible athlete, and of course a good track and field athlete. He was like a triple jumper and a shot putter at the same time at 6'5", and won a national championship at Michigan. And I believe Tom Brady might have been there at the same time that he was at Michigan. The same year Nebraska and Michigan shared in 1997. And, of course, they've had several players go on. Kenny Wilson, Carlos Alsup, and Eric Rosel. And so many
Eric
good
Rosel,
players,
another Michigan Wolverine. It's kind of amazing, the University of Michigan going out to far southwest Kansas and finding some great athletes at Liberal. But you know where they are, you can find them. And they had a couple of them out there as they went on to Michigan. As we're watching now, Paola against Tonganoxie. Paola leading this game 21-14, 6.5 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, you mentioned Liberal, not only known for their football, the track and field program probably more known. And if you go to those track and field meets in the 90s, early 2000s, you could just recruit right off of that. Guys like Melvin Sanders, who was a 7'2" high jumper, he played in the NBA. And, of course, you look at, they had Martin Lewis that also played, I believe, Seward County and got drafted into the NBA. So two guys that were NBA players in the 1990s to 2000s as well.
Martin Lewis, one of the best athletes I have ever seen in person. I saw him play basketball in the 8th grade. He could have started a small college team when he was in the 8th grade. He was amazing, dunking the ball over guys. He was terrific. By the way, that track and field program and that football program out in Liberal had something in common. They had the same head coach, Gary Cornelson. No coincidence there, as that track and field program did a great job of conditioning that football team on their way to winning a record number of state championships in track and field. As once again, you're watching Kansas Football Friday as we're checking in there on Paola and Tonganoxie, and that game taking a break. Back to Dodge City, where the Garden City Buffaloes now lead 7-0 over Dodge City in the Hatchet game. Garden City trying to get its first victory of the season. They're 0-2, losing last week against Hutchinson 21-20. Dodge City with the football and going back to pass. Looks like we have a penalty on the play, maybe holding on the Red Demons. Again,
if you look at number 40.
Oh, go ahead, Chet.
45 on your screen, Terrell Elliott, that you see there, his brother is a starting defensive tackle for Indiana. DeMarcus Elliott, of course,
Big
is Force
dude.
Kansas 6A, really big dude. And he's a player that's a junior right now that doesn't look like a guy that would probably wear number 45, but a very good player for them, just a junior. They got a pretty solid defensive line, and probably why this game's scoreless early on.
Hey, we're going now to the Houlton Wildcats, and who we got them against here again?
Perry Lecompton.
Perry Lecompton. This is a good one. Houlton we saw very impressive against Chapman a week ago in a blowout win. This one, though, is close. 7.
Yeah, and in the physical caliber of play, Leon, that you're going to get in this Big 7 conference, you got a lot of size here on both sides of the football. We're talking about Class 3A football. This Perry Lecompton team last year beat Topeka Hayden twice. We know what caliber of Topeka Hayden is. Ground and pound football here, the bar to bone, as you can see it, how low the quarterback gets with really 4 running backs ideally in the backfield, not going to pass a whole lot, and it's kind of some misdirection stuff and hard to see. But they'll just chip away at you and run the clock, and that's why you'll see a lot of low-scoring games with Houlton. Now, on the other side of things, Perry Lecompton's got a quarterback that I feel like's a top 10 quarterback in the state that we profiled earlier, and William Welch, a very good player. They can throw the ball around. They have a ton of team speed, maybe the fastest 3A team in the state. Another player to look at on your screen going for 500 career tackles this year, number 58 in the middle, Hayden Robb. He is an outstanding player for Perry Lecompton. Both sides, though, pretty big up front, a lot of big dudes across the board.
And I said this game was close. Well, it couldn't be any more close. It's tied 14-14. I was having a little difficulty seeing the top of that scoreboard there. 14 Oz. The Wildcats of Houlton moving the football on the ground. Looks like they just picked up a first down. Again, this game in the third quarter as well as we're underway of second half action across the state.
Yeah, Cannon Garn and, of course, Connor Tannehill out of the backfield, 2 outstanding players, both over 200 pounds that you can go to in the backfield. So not only do you have that big offensive line that we talked about last week when we had the cameras there, you have big running backs, 200-plus pound running backs in the backfield.
Quarterback out underneath the center on this play. Last week we saw him out of the shotgun, but again he squats down like a catcher where it's just hard to see. It's a lot of misdirection. That bar to bone presents quite a challenge for a defense. As once again Houlton, it's Perry Lecompton, and we talk about mascots, and they're the Caws. And I have a hard time. I always think I'm saying CAUSE, but it's KAWS, named after the Caw Indians, of course, and it just doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. There's a lot of things don't probably, but and Houlton trying to continue to pound the ball toward the left side of that line. They've had some success. I believe that's going to bring up. They're down. Actually, we can check in on the play-by-play, I believe. Can we do that, Mike?
And the tackler for Perry Lecompton that time was Thad Metcalf and Jesse Herman, who's a sophomore now in there as a linebacker. So they converted 3rd and 5. This one just a little bit shorter than that. The Wildcats still at their own 33-yard line with 5:20 to go. Game tied 14-14, third quarter. Directing the offense, Purcell. Second man through. No, he keeps it after faking it to Karn. Kell gets around the end, but can't stay in bounds and is short of the first down. He gets to the 41, gaining a couple. And a tough decision here. 4th and 2 from your own 41. Tie game. You kind of have the momentum, but this deep in your own territory, and with Perry maybe not having their starting quarterback, Wildcats going to punt this one away.
Yeah, this is a different decision if Billy Welch is in the football game, Justin. As you heard Coach Brooks Barta say at halftime, we probably need to score every possession. You feel that way with Billy Welch behind the center. But right now it's a 14-14 game. You want to play the field position and let your defense have the long field behind them.
Jake Sellers, a great punter for the Wildcats, averaged 30 yards per punt last year, had a long of 49. He certainly works on that part of his game. Waits the 4th down snap here, standing at his own 30. He'll kick it away. 2 guys back deep, Quinlan and Metcalf. Quinlan makes the catch at the 30, falls on it, and his knee hit the ground there as he went to drop and pick up the football at the 30. And you're right, as much as anything right now, Tank, I think it's a mental thing for Perry.
Okay, Perry Lecompton now with the football after holding Houlton on defense. That's an impressive defensive stand, an interesting decision by the Wildcats not to go for it, even though they were on their own 41-yard line. But they're a team that likes to go for it as they continue to pound the ball. But maybe a little respect for that Perry Lecompton team.
Yeah, both very solid teams that are both on the eastern side. Of course, Holton in a district with Sabetha, Royal Valley, Hiawatha, Rock Creek, and Jeff West. And then when you look at Perry-LeCompton, which district play begins next week, Leon, so you better be ready to play. Santa Fe Trail, Osawatomie, Baldwin, Hayden, Bishop Ward, and Perry-LeCompton all in that same district. Now, district format, of course, changed a couple years ago. 4 of the 6 teams in the district make the playoffs. And this is one of those years it's a bit scary because it's going to go by winning percentage and it will go by some head-to-head stuff and all that. But what if a team gets quarantined and things like that? This is one of those years that I really felt like they should have said, hey, play your schedule how it looks and play your district how it looks, but let's not count district games. Let's not count points. Let's not count district record. Let's let everybody make the playoffs in week 9 like we do in 4A, 5A, 6A.
Again, Perry-LeCompton with the football after holding Holton on down, or forcing Holton to punt the football, and that pass on the far side there knocked incomplete. As we got a battle going on here, Holton at home, the Wildcats against Perry-LeCompton. It's all tied up 14-14, 4:25 left to go in the third quarter. Again, you're watching Kansas Football Friday as we check in on live action from east to west and north to south all across the Sunflower State tonight, as we'll be going back up to Paola and Tonganoxie, where Paola now has taken a 28-14 lead. The Panthers just scored moments ago, and Tonganoxie now with the football, trailing 28-14. This has been a good one. Tonganoxie's had an answer nearly every time. Let's see if they can come back and get within a touchdown here in the third quarter.
Yeah, Paola very good on the defensive line and really probably limiting the running game here. And, of course, Poggi at the quarterback position is a dual threat. So they do have the ability to go to the air. Dallas Bond, a tight end, as you see on your screen, a very big player, a very big weapon. So don't expect Tonganoxie just to fold here because they're down. Both of these teams, outstanding football teams.
Well, they got that offense spread out. 4 receivers, 2 to the far and 2 to the near. Now a quick pass down on the near side here, knocked out of bounds, maybe a pickup of 2 yards on that play. Not much there. Again, Paola leading 28-14 against the Chieftains of Tonganoxie.
Just a very well-played football game from both sides. I mean, it is exactly what you want to see. So it's a pass and a completion to 84 for 3 yards, and it brings up a 3rd down and long 3, short 4. Looking to pass again. Going to air it out. Throwing it deep. Good coverage. And it is nearly caught, though. It was pretty good coverage all the way. He had a chance of it, intended for Heston Robbins. It falls incomplete. For the life of me, don't understand that one. It brings up an incomplete. It stops the clock as well. And now what are you going to do? You've got a guy who is averaging 9 yards.
Again, we're checking in with Paola and Tonganoxie, the play-by-play call right there, 28-14, long pass attempt, incomplete. Play-by-play man didn't agree with that call, Chet.
Play-by-play man is BJ Harris.
Oh, that's BJ. BJ kind of critical, man.
Yeah, I can't say what he does for a living on there, but everybody knows.
And there's another quick pass, and I believe they're going to keep they got the first down. Yeah, nice play there from Tonganoxie. 28-14.
Now, I'm wondering, though, BJ has Paola Sports Live, and he also has Tonganoxie Sports Live. Is it the same call on both of them, or does he got a Tonganoxie staff on there too?
Well, we split back up into our 4 games. We're keeping track of right now, at least video-wise. And bottom right, Dodge City Garden City leading that game 7-0. Again, Paola, Tonganoxie, 28-14. The Panthers on top of Tonganoxie in the third quarter. And we have St. Thomas Aquinas and Bishop Miege. That is in your lower left. There we go, full screen as the third quarter underway in Overland Park. It's 21-21. Bishop Miege. Stags against the Saints.
Anderson, they give to Tank Young, spins past one tackler, lowers his shoulders, charges his feet forward, all the way down to the 18-yard line, move the chains again, Tank Young.
I don't know how I can describe how pretty of that play that was, because he should have been tackled in the backfield for a 1-yard, 2-yard loss, but somehow, some way was able to dodge that initial defender and then get to the line of scrimmage, and then guess what? He had to dodge 2 or 3 more guys and then just got off to that next level. That's That's why he will play college football for somebody, because that was next level stuff right there.
This is a Randy Dreiling drive if we've ever seen one. Down to the 18 goes Aquinas. Man goes in motion. Anderson's going to keep it left side. He is going to get hammered near the 17-yard line. He took a shot, didn't even try to make the man miss. Picks up a yard.
Nice play by Jalen Birch, open field tackle. They thought that for a second, Tim, that kind of looked like that might work and might be able to spring that to the outside, but nice job by Jalen Birch making the open field tackle.
Now, one thing about Miege over the years that we've come to find out is they fly quickly to the football. They play fast defensively. 2nd and 9. Off the 17-yard line, this time off the left hash mark. Anderson gives to Young behind right guard, and they push right behind Danny Carroll all the way down to the 12-yard line.
Well, here we are again, one of these third and intermediate plays.
Oh, excuse me. They spotted him all the way back at the 15.
Only a gain of, 2 on that play?
Short gain. So here comes the 3rd and 7. It looked up here like he was all the way down near the 10, but they mark him at the 15-yard line, and this is a big 3rd and 7. 3:28 to go third quarter.
Tim, this is a huge play in this game right here. Kansas State's come up with a stop.
Camera, the lone receiver. They have not gone to the air much tonight. Do they go to the air here on a 3rd and 7? Anderson, option play, late pitch to Tank, short side of the field, picks up one block, cuts inside for the end zone. He is short inside the 2-yard line. Tank Young moves the chains again. What a great time to pitch that football by Blake Anderson. The last possible moment, and Tank did the rest.
Yeah, Tank's going to get credit for the yardage, but Anderson should get all the credit on that play because he made the perfect read. Waited for the defender to come at him and made the pitch, and it was picture perfect. That was classic Randy Dreiling football right there.
First and goal off the 2-yard line, near hash. 3 minutes to go third quarter in a tie game. Anderson squats under center. Tank Young directly behind him in the backfield. He opens up right. No one was home, and Blake Anderson is snowed under at the line of scrimmage. Tank Young went left. Anderson opened up right, and that was
everybody went left, but the cornerback. And that's not one you normally expect a senior quarterback to do.
2nd and goal off the 2-yard line. No receivers in the formation. Young remains the deep back behind the senior quarterback Anderson. Sends a man in motion. They give to Young straight up the middle. He is going to be stopped short, and it's 3rd and goal.
Yeah.
Maybe a yard.
And we'll probably see a play very similar to that here. Give it to your big guy. Let him get in the end zone. Trust your offensive line.
And here comes Tank Young off the field on a 3rd and goal from the 1.
Oh, no, he's going back out.
Yeah, he started off, but now they send him right back out there. So 3rd and goal from the 1. And, yeah, this is Tank Young territory. 1:48 to go third quarter in a tie game. Miege trying to find something here defensively. Anderson turns, tosses to Tank Young, walks into the end zone too easy. His 4th touchdown of the night, and Aquinas is back on the high side.
Yeah, simple play. Toss it to your star. Run it behind your right side of your offensive line, who have done a great job all season long so far in these early season. And once again, Tank Young does what Tank Young does, gets into the end zone.
All right, St. Thomas Aquinas with the touchdown, now leading Bishop Miege 28-21. His extra point is good. Tank Young taking it into the end zone, the outstanding running back for the Saints of St. Thomas Aquinas. We want to thank 810 Varsity Sports for the highlights and the call on that touchdown drive there by St. Thomas Aquinas. And, boy, Tank Young, everything is advertised, Chet.
Yeah, he is. He's the real deal. And, of course, last year – maybe in the shadows of Arlen Bruce, who got a lot of the hype as the same age. But the year prior, it was all Tank Young. You know, he's been one of the top 4 or 5 players in Kansas over the last 3 seasons. And this year, I think he may be that best player in the state as we see a punt block for Garden City there on Dodge City to put them up.
That's
13-0.
Yeah, that's a touchdown for the Buffaloes. They blocked the punt. The punter deep in his own end zone. And, boy, here came all the white jerseys and just smothered that football and got the touchdown, I believe. Let's see, unless it was a safety to go out of bounds. I think they recovered it in the end zone. And, yes, they're going to go for the extra point. So, wow, big play for Garden City in the Hatchet game.
And finally, some scoring that we've seen broken open here in the second half of this game that was 0-0 at the half.
Every time we checked on the highlights, when Dodge City's had the football here in the second half, they have been deep in their own territory, and that time it really came back to bite them as punting from deep in their from the back of their end zone, and Garden City with the block punt in the end zone. They recovered for the touchdown. It's 14-0 now, Garden City, as we head back. Paola and Tonganoxie, and Paola Panthers up 28-14, 11-16 left to go in the third quarter.
And Tonganoxie just punching in a touchdown. I don't know if that was Bowden in there, but
just got it. Yeah.
28 getting ready, hopefully, to be 28-21. So still a game here from Paola Sports Live from Paola with BJ Harris on the call.
Well, we mentioned this game has been back and forth from the very beginning. Tonganoxie scored on its first play from scrimmage, a 60-yard run. And here we are now, 28-21, Paola on top by a touchdown. Tonganoxie, though, coming back with that touchdown to get within a touchdown with about 11 and a half minutes left to go in the third quarter. And now back to Houlton as the Wildcats trailing now against, it's 20-14. Let's see, Houlton against Perry LeCompton. It is 20-14. It was 14-14. Houlton is ahead, 20-14.
And a fumble on the play there. It looked like Hayden Robb got in there, but it looks like probably going to be Houlton's ball.
A different offensive
Wildcats in the all blue. Let's listen in.
Coach Mike Paramore thought they had it on the far sideline, pointing.
I think might have been the tight end that got on that, was it? Or was it the running back that got it back? Pruitt was in on there fighting for it along with, was it Karn that fumbled that?
It was Hundley, I believe, 31.
So third down now and a long 6 yards to go here for Houlton, trailing by 6. Clock under a minute, now 50 seconds left here in the third period. Besides our Citizen State Bank and Trust Company of Hiawatha player to bank on, we'll also pick a Giant Communications lineman of the game at the end of our broadcaster in the Be Outdoors Real Estate postgame show here later this evening. Shaping up to be a fantastic finish in this battle of two of the top three teams in the state in Class 3A. Purcell ready. Perry blitzing the line, and the center kind of fell forward there.
Yeah.
Houlton had a lot of time there. They were checking equipment there for a minute, and then Houlton looking to the sideline, maybe wanting to redo the play or get the play call sent in again. And after a while, poor Watkins just kind of hovering over that football for a minute or so. Couldn't hold it any longer. It's now third down and 11.
Well, he's done a tremendous job tonight, taking on these blitzing A-gap linebackers. Also has a 290-pound defensive tackle lined up over him on every single play in Sean Urban, and he's done a really good job. That time the blitz was coming, and Houlton was going to bring a man in motion, and just some mistiming on the snap.
A 4-3 defensive look here for Perry. Houlton on third and 11. Purcell will stay at quarterback, double tight end, wishbone set. Kell fakes it and fakes it again and rolls to the near side after the counter fakes. He airs it out, and he's got a man downfield, but overshot Marcus Pruitt. He was a step ahead of Dawson Williams. There was an underneath running back. In fact, Holiday was there as well as an underneath Connor Tannehill.
All right, from Houlton now we go back to Overland Park where Bishop Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas leading 28-21. And I understand Miege just is moving the football right now. The Stags against the Saints.
We are having some fun from Aquinas. 28-21. Aquinas a 7-point lead. Miege is on the move. Don't go anywhere on Sports Radio 810.
All right, again, we're listening to 810 Varsity as it's into the third quarter there as they're switching sides and taking a break. That game's going to look like it's going to go right down to the wire, Chet. That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, and kind of expected as we expect both teams to compete for state titles in their respective classifications. And, of course, you know, it's been outstanding matchups in some of them. And, of course, a couple of years ago, it was all St. Thomas Aquinas and their team that they had in 2018. And you look at, you know, some of the players, still the same players on the field. We talked about how good that Tank Young is. He's a guy that, of course, had over 1,800 yards last year, 2,000 as a sophomore, 9 yards per carry in his career. He enters his senior year, which is this his second game. So not counting this year's totals, but entering the year, he had 4,123 yards rushing and 61 touchdowns. Now, those are just 2-year totals, or actually 3 years, because he played a little bit as a freshman as well. So he is a big-time playmaker for St. Thomas Aquinas, number 28, Tank Young.
You know, we were talking earlier, I mentioned anyway, what was wrong with Derby, relatively speaking. But now the Panthers of Derby leading Bishop Carroll 21-7 at the end of the third quarter. And we got Houlton and Perry Lecompton up in your left-hand screen. And Paola and Tonganoxie, that game in the fourth quarter as well, as we're headed toward the fourth in a lot of our games. Dodge City and Garden City Buffaloes leading 14-0 in the fourth quarter. Dodge City just punting the football. It's on your bottom right. And by the way, Chet, Dodge City, every one of their games they've been involved with this year has been a shutout. They lost 42-0, won 35-0. Now they trail 14-0 against their arch rival Garden City. So it's been a feast or famine for the Red Demons. And once again, we check in on Paola and Tonganoxie. The Panthers up 28-21.
Handoff near side. Cuts back against the grain. Breaks one would-be tackler, but brought down finally on the tackle by Carr. Martin loses his helmet.
And Tonganoxie with the football, trying to tie this
game.
Thing
about Bowden, he just keeps coming. I mean, it comes with the same speed and authority as he did on that first play from scrimmage where he took it to the house 60-plus yards. And it's in the fourth quarter now, and he's still coming at you with that same momentum. Turn, do it again. Cut back into the end zone, touchdown. Man, he is every bit as what was billed.
How about that, Chet Copeland, Tyler Bowden, one of his players to watch tonight across the state of Kansas, and he has been terrific for Tonganoxie as they have a chance now to tie the game with this extra point. What a game.
Yeah, he's one of the top rushers in Kansas, 1,800 yards last year for Free State, and near the top of the leaderboards this year across the state of Kansas. An outstanding football player, and size is a little bit deceiving when you see him. He is so quick, and he's a little bit more physical than one may think, but he is an outstanding football player. Leads the entire state, as we mentioned, coming into the game with 519 yards rushing, and it's not like he's doing this at the lowest level possible. He's doing it against some good opponents in Class 4A, and of course he has that experience from playing in 6A where he had 1,800 yards last year for Lawrence Free State.
And again, that game now tied 28-28, Paola and Tonganoxie. It is also 28-28 in Overland Park, where Bishop Miege has just scored and got the extra point. So it's 28-28 against St. Thomas Aquinas, a battle of powerhouse, 5A powerhouse teams there, and it's everything is advertised. Wow, we got two good ones going. And here is Perry Lecompton at Houlton. Perry Lecompton with the football. Good run here, first down and much more. Going down inside the 5, and let's listen in.
A touchdown over there for the Cats was Garrison Booth, but a nice run. And you're right, here's a guy that's kind of taken over the game a little bit. The run goes for 44 yards, and it's first and goal to go. Now at the 6 as Perry tries to take a 2-score lead for the first time here tonight. Wow.
Yeah, Perry Lecompton leading 20-14 over the hometown Houlton Wildcats. And how much of a surprise is that after we watched Houlton so dominant last week?
I don't think it's too big of a surprise. Perry Lecompton, the state runner-up from last year, and thought was going to be an outstanding coin flip style of matchup. But Houlton has been very impressive, very physical. And you even look at Perry Lecompton, their quarterback's not even in right now, and he's one of my 10 players to watch tonight as well. So it must be an injury or something there. But Thad Metcalf in at the quarterback position. He's an all-state running back, as you see on that team. So this is a very experienced Perry Lecompton team that played for a state title. They were dominated a year ago by Andale in that state title game, but all those guys were juniors, and all those guys are back. So we got a lot of really good games on our screen right now, Leon. Some outstanding football games here. Paola, Tongi, Bishop Miege, and Aquinas, and, of course, Houlton. As well as Perry Lecompton in this one. So a lot of good football going on across the Sunflower State tonight.
Well, Perry Lecompton trying to score again here. Let's check in on this game and check in on what's happening with the play-by-play.
6 in an empty backfield for Thad Metcalf. 4 receivers. He wants to run up the middle. 10-5. Take it into the end zone. Touchdown. Thad Metcalf. Now the backup QB. It's his second rushing touchdown. And that is a 3-play, 71-yard drive by Perry Lecompton for the first time tonight, a 2-touchdown lead.
Justin, when Billy Welch left this game,
how about that? Perry Lecompton scores again, and the backup quarterback, Thad Metcalf, 2 touchdown runs tonight, as Chet was just talking about him, and this Perry Lecompton team. Outstanding performance tonight at Holton against the Wildcats, a team we saw last week. It was so impressive. Perry Lecompton, a pretty good team itself. So as they will go for two, it looks like.
And a very intimidating place to play there in Holton. As you look at that right tackle there, Jeremiah Monroe, he is 6'5", 300 pounds. He is just a sophomore. So they have some beef up front on that offensive line for, of course, Perry Lecompton. Their quarterback being out, of course, could affect them later on. But they have some guys in the backfield. Of course, the guy we highlighted and had on Sports in Kansas Radio last year to preview the state title game was Thad Metcalf, that running back that had over 1,500 yards rushing last year. So a lot of experience on that team. A lot of experience really on all of our screens that you're seeing tonight, except for maybe Dodge City, who lacks quite a bit of experience. But Tonganoxie, a lot of veterans back, some transfers back, and then, of course, Garrett Williams, the quarterback you see right here for Paola, outstanding player.
Yeah, this game is a good one, too, a very good game. Paola Tonganoxie, 28-28, 8:16 to go in the fourth quarter. By the way, the two-point conversion for Perry Lecompton, you may have seen there, was good. So Perry Lecompton now leading Holton 29-14 as we check in on Dodge City now threatening of a long run down to the 2-yard line. I got the tail end of that play. I'm not sure if that was a pass or a run all the way, but Dodge City now threatening to score as they trail 14-0 with just over 6 minutes to go in the football game late in the fourth quarter. Red Demons been kept out of the end zone the entire game. Trying to get in right here. Alden Nedler in the backfield at the quarterback takes the snap. He's going to keep it himself, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown, and the Red Demons are on the board. And we got a close game out in Dodge right now. The extra point coming up can make it a touchdown game, 14-6 right now. Garden City on top. Well, we're having fun on this Friday night, Chet, all over the state.
Absolutely, some close games, some showdowns here. Alden Nedler on the carry there. All-state linebacker, of course, the WAC Defensive Player of the Year, and, of course, the WAC defensively no slouch with what Great Bend had last year, all the Hayes guys, the Division I guys, and Alden Nedler with the carry there. A very difficult guy to stop. He's known for defense but can do a little bit of everything. Whoa,
well, they're going for
that
two.
Faked me, Leon.
And they got it.
I thought he was down in the backfield.
14-8, Dodge City with a fake extra point kick attempt and go for two, and they got it 14-8 with 6:19 left to go in this game. We got a good one with the Hatchet game out in Dodge City. Dodge City and Garden City. The Buffaloes on top of the Red Demons. So now we head back to Holton, where Perry Lecompton now leading 29-14. Holton Wildcats trying to come back in this game in the fourth quarter. Just over 11 minutes left, if I'm seeing that right. And Chet, maybe Holton's
updates.
Oh, go ahead.
I have some score updates for you across the state. Leon, fourth quarter scores. Washburn Rural leading Pittsburgh 21-14. Lakeside Downs over Osborne 30-14. Thomas More Prep up 20-6 on Plainville. Smoky Valley up 30-16 on Hillsboro. DeSoto up 42-14 on Baser Linwood. Uniontown leading Pleasanton 14-0. Cunningham leading Fowler 40-6. Columbus leading Girard 20-7 in that Southeast Kansas game. And on top of that, several more scores coming in that you can follow over at Scores in Kansas, powered by Eddie's Toyota.
And once again, 4 games all at once on your screen. We've got some great ones going on, including St. Thomas Aquinas, Bishop Miege. That game tied 28-28 in the fourth quarter. Dodge City just scored, got a 2-point conversion on a fake kick, so they trail now 14-8 against Garden City. About 6 minutes to go in that game. Dodge City kicking off near bottom right. Garden City receiving the kickoff, taking it out to about the 20-yard line there. And then up in your upper left is Holton trying to come back against Perry Lecompton. Perry Lecompton leading that game 29-14. And Paola and Tonganoxie tied 28-all. And that's another good one. All these games very close, coming down to the wire. It's a fun Friday night. You're watching Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas. I'm Leon Liebel, along with Chet Copeland from Sports in Kansas, the man who knows more about high school sports in Kansas than any man alive. And I'll put money on that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, at least you know all the good places to eat across the state. I can say that.
I definitely know that. I could probably tell you somewhere to eat in nearly every town or, anywhere I've been to. When I go and speak at these places or whatever, the first thing that I usually ask somebody, where's the best place to eat? They always have a suggestion of places. That's why it's been so hard to diet. When we do that Power of Social Media tour, we were going to be in over 100 high schools last year, ended up being around 50 or 60, and we're getting ready to start that up, at least on the west part of the state. Probably stay away from the eastern part until later on. But that's the best thing about that. Not only do I get to go interact with students and talk to them and get to know the administrators, the coaches, and the people within the towns and sightsee the towns and see their stadiums, I also get to check out where the best place to eat a chicken fried steak is, Leon.
Well, let's check in on the Bishop Miege St. Thomas Aquinas game right now. As looks like Aquinas now moving, trying to take the lead back as they're threatening to score 28-28. A lot of good restaurants, by the way, in Overland Park, so a lot of choices there for you on that trip. But the Saints of St. Thomas Aquinas and Bishop Miege, this is a battle, a heavyweight battle, and it's been back and forth.
We may have a measurement. No, they're not even going to measure it. I'm shocked by that.
Yeah. It's
inches.
This is where games are won and lost, Tim, right here.
Here we go. 4th and inches, 6:50 to go, fourth quarter in a tie game. Anderson, quarterback sneak, has the first down inside the 2-yard line. Maybe down near the 1.
Yeah, nothing fancy about that. The Saints actually thought that they might have pushed Anderson all the way into the end zone.
And again, this is what Aquinas does.
I'd probably run that same play here, especially with your star running back dinged up a little bit. Just run the quarterback draw.
1st and goal from the 1-yard line. Anderson tucks in under center. Blake Anderson, quarterback sneak. He is into the end zone. And Aquinas, no signal yet. Now there's the signal. Aquinas has gone up a score. 34-28, Blake Anderson, the quarterback sneak. And here comes the all-too-important extra point.
I love that drive, that answer.
There you go. St. Thomas Aquinas powering their way back down the field to take the lead again as Blake Anderson, the quarterback, keeping it. That was a big 4th down conversion to get the first down. They only had about a yard to go, but still, that was a big play. And they missed the extra point, I'm told, as we can see it up there on the screen. Again, it's 34-28 now. St. Thomas Aquinas on top by 6, and that is big because Bishop Miege very capable of going down and scoring and, of course, taking the lead on an extra point. What a game, Chet.
Yeah, games like that can come down to a missed opportunity like that on a PAT. So very important as, of course, special teams, such a valuable asset to any team, and we've certainly seen that factor in so many times for teams losing state title games or not getting to a state championship or things like that. Last year, of course, Mill Valley hitting that field goal against Aquinas to deny them from going to state 1 year ago. So certainly something that you got to look at in this game if Bishop Miege can go down and score.
More action. Paola Tonganoxie. This game tied 28-28 with just over 3 minutes. Clock is running. Let's check in on what's going on in this game.
Down and 4. And this will run it inside 3 minutes. Thirteenth play, turn, Blackie, first down, across up to the 15-yard line. A good run there by Giovanni Blackie of about 9 yards on that carry. 14th play of this drive. They scored on their 14th play of the opening drive of the second half. Now with 2:39 and counting, what do they want to do? They've converted on a 4th down. And they did it on that opening drive. They had a 4th down conversion on a fake punt. This time they had to do it on a 5-yard run by Garrett Williams to keep the drive alive, but trying to pay off now. Turn, handoff, not much there for Audie as he is wrestled down by Tongi's number 62, Jared Lowe.
28-28, Tonganoxie and Paola tied. Tonganoxie has the football, by the way, with just over 2 minutes to go, and the clock is running. So they have a chance to take the lead late in this game as we'll continue to check back in and listen to see what happens here.
Paola actually with the ball right now.
Or yes, Paola, my bad. The home team. Tonganoxie scored to tie this game.
Turn. Hand off, Blackie trying to pick his way through. There's Martin. I could go at times in my broadcast career, this is my 19th season, I could go 2, maybe 3 years in a row without seeing a game like this. And certainly between teams of this caliber, I've not called very many. This is a lot of fun, and it is a nail-biter. I mean, you're getting a chance here, kid, in your third game at camera. You're getting an opportunity to see a dandy of a ball game, and hopefully everybody else is at home. We're at under almost a minute to go. Rolling, looking, nothing out there. Williams is just going to scramble, just try to get what he can and get out of bounds. It'll bring up a 4th down here for
quarterback run play on the scramble, number 10, Garrett Williams.
And it'll bring up a 4th down and long 3. What do you do now?
What do you do now,
Williams went out of bounds. This is going to be the 16th play of this drive.
Whew.
Actually, that was.
That's a good question.
Again, Paola with the football, trying to take the lead against Tonganoxie as they're going to call a timeout and talk it over. 28-28, 1:09 to go. 4th down for the Paola Panthers. As we're checking in there live. What a game that is going down to the wire. And hey, let's check in the Dodge City. The Red Demons now with the football as they just held Garden City, forced the Buffaloes to punt. 5:29 left to go in the game. It is 14-8 Garden City. Now, Dodge City just scored moments ago, got the 2-point conversion. Red Demons really going nowhere on offense most of this game, but all of a sudden, that touchdown and 2-point conversion, they're back in it with the football. Red Demons, of course, in the red. Looking to throw the ball, and incomplete, a little too high. And it was a dangerous pass over the middle. Could have been picked up. That'll bring up 2nd down for Dodge City. We got some good football games all over the place right now. And again, St. Thomas, Aquinas, Bishop Miege. Aquinas took the lead, but they're up by 6 as they missed the extra point. We'll be keeping an eye on that game up in Overland Park. As Miege has the football there.
Number 20 on your screen, you see Matt Freeze, an outstanding game a week ago, one of the leading receivers in this state. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on and their go-to guy in this Dodge City offense.
I'd say looks like you're going to try the screen pass, and nothing there at all. Boy, Garden City really sniffed that one out. They knew that play all the way, and that's another incomplete pass, and that'll bring up 3rd down. 3rd and 10 for Dodge City. So Red Demons have a terrific opportunity here, but going nowhere. And, I said 5:19 left to go in this game. That clock has not moved on the graphic, so ignore that time. I'm not sure, honestly, how much time is left as we are in the 4th quarter. Even though 2 quick incomplete passes, I assume some time ran off the clock. So, Dodge City 3rd and 10. Obviously a big play for the Red Demons here. And now they low snap, and the quarterback picks it up. That's Tucker Smith, and he's going to come to the near sideline. And, the clock is going, and it's 5:13. And Dodge City looks like you're going to have to punt the football. Okay, we got that all straightened out. The Red Demons have to punt back to Garden City, trailing 14-8 in the 4th quarter. The Hatchet game out in Dodge City. And let's check back into Paola and Tonganoxie because Paola Panthers have a decision to make here. 4th down, tie game, 28-28. Minute 8 left to go in the game, and they just called the timeout to discuss what they're going to do. Still out on the field here, and coach calling over the players. I'm not sure if they got the field goal team out there or not, Chet. I can't tell.
I don't think that they do. I think that's quarterback Garrett Williams out there. If he is the holder, though, maybe they do.
Yeah, let's listen in, see what's going on out there.
I mean, imagine the just wherewithal to put together this drive. Paola led by 14, 28-14. They score. Tonganoxie scores a touchdown on a long drive of their own, made it 28-21. And then a kickoff was not intended necessarily to be an onside, fell in front of the return man. Tongi jumps on it. 5 plays later, they're in the end zone. And they end up wiping 8 seconds off the clock. If you're Tonganoxie, you're like, where did those 8 seconds go? But the clock stopped when it probably should have kept running, and instead they'll put it down to 1 minute exactly on the clock. And Paola, and now a timeout going to be taken. They're going to need an explanation. Now finally all the coaches on the far side realize what happened.
All right. Seems like there's some confusion with the clock situation there, but we can't tell you. Paola Tonganoxie tied 28-28, roughly a minute left to go in the game. Paola Panthers a fourth down decision. We're still not sure exactly what they're going to do here as another timeout was taken on the field. But games coming right down to the wire on week number 3. High school football across the state. You're watching Kansas Football Friday. As we check in, Bishop Miege against St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas leading 34-28 this game in the fourth quarter. Aquinas just took the lead moments ago but missed the extra point, so their lead is at 6 points. St. Thomas Aquinas, of course, a runner-up last year in Class 5A. They won the state 5A title 2 years ago, defeating Wichita Northwest. Head coach Randy Dreiling, his first state title at St. Thomas Aquinas after his unbelievable run at Hutchinson. And now this tremendous matchup against Bishop Miege, the two Catholic powerhouses in Johnson County.
And really outstanding play by Blake Anderson, you see at the quarterback. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but he makes a lot of the reads and running that offense so slick for St. Thomas Aquinas, allowing some big plays to happen. And that's kind of a position that's been underrated, is the leader of that offense and their quarterback, because a lot of the carries are going, of course, to those running backs, wing back type of guys. But always got to have a solid quarterback there to run that Randy Dreiling offense. It's ran so crisp.
Well, Aquinas does have the football and deep now in Miege territory as Bishop Miege. There was a penalty there, and that's going to mark the ball down at the 21-yard line of Miege, and Aquinas with the football again. Blake Anderson running the show, and you're right, he makes some great decisions. He's got Tank Young back there, but he does a terrific job on the run-pass option, I've noticed, and making just the right decision at the right time. As Aquinas trying to build add to their lead. They're up 34-28 against Bishop Miege. This would be a big, big win. Well, for either team, it would be a big win, but as this is a huge matchup in Kansas City tonight.
And interesting to see what's going on in Paola, if we can go back up to that game, as it's, I guess we're at commercial at this point, but still deciding.
Yeah, still deciding. Also, by the way, game in the bottom right, Dodge City, Garden City, that one coming down to the wire. Dodge City got the ball back after in a bad Garden City, a short punt. So the Red Demons got some field position here, but an incomplete pass, as you see down in the bottom right. That pass out to the far side. Nobody there. So the Red Demons, with just over 2 minutes left to go in this game, trying to take the lead. They trail 14-8 in the fourth quarter.
It looks like Paola did take the lead 35-28 in that game.
They did. We missed that. Sorry about that. Can we go full screen on Paola? Yeah, there it is, 35-28. Yeah, we'll keep that game is at a break. So we'll keep it at Dodge City, Garden City. Red Demons, 3rd down and 7. And on the quarterback keeper, it's Tucker Smith back in there at quarterback. Primarily used as the passing quarterback for Dodge City. That time he was forced to keep it and run. And that'll bring up 4th and 1.
If Nedler's not in there on a 4th and 1, that is kind of a question mark, as he's a powerful guy in the backfield.
Big play right here for Dodge City as they're trying to come back against Garden City, trailing 14-8. Minutes 50 left to go, and we may have an offsides against Garden City. We're going to have a false start, and it looks like it's going to go against Dodge City, and that's huge. That's going to make it 4th and 6. Would have been huge either way.
Looks like Mill Valley and Bentonville, Arkansas, the last update I had, are both tied in the fourth quarter at 28. So That's an outstanding game as expected up in the Shawnee area.
Well, Mill Valley has really obviously shown us something this year. And here we go, Red Demons going for the first down, the ball over the middle, and it's caught at midfield across the 50 into Garden City territory. What a big play for the Red Demons to keep this drive alive. 4th and 6, they come up with a first down.
Huge catch there for Matt Freeze. Of course, one of the top receivers in the WAC conference this year.
Tucker Smith with the throw over the middle. Matt Freeze with the catch, and Dodge City in business trying to come from behind. But now we've got a sack as Garden City comes up with a sack on the play. That's a big defensive play for the Buffaloes.
6'3", 280 pounds. He's got an offer from Akron, several offers from Division II. Trey Nussum coming in with a boom.
Yeah, we go back to full screen now. Dodge City again with the ball. 2nd down and 18, a loss of 8 on the play. 45 seconds left to go in this game. Smith throws it out to the far side. Near midfield, just shy of the 50-yard line. That's going to bring up 3rd down. Trying to make up some yardage on the play. The catch there made near the 50-yard line. Dodge City down by 6 points. And we're going to have a timeout on the field. Timeout. 23 seconds left to go in that game. Back to Bishop Miege, St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas leading 34-28 late in the 4th quarter. Aquinas trying to punch it once again into the end zone. Let's see what we got here. Let's listen in.
Saves the timeout here.
Yeah, not take the timeout. We creep inside 2 minutes to go. Play clock just now inside 30. So this is going to get us down near 1:30 to go in the game. They spot it at the 3-yard line. And it's worth noting that Aquinas is 2 for 4 on extra point kicks tonight. Remember, they went for 2 earlier.
Well, it looks like we're going to call timeout, roll it all the way down to 0 and call timeout.
So this is a big play. Play clock at 2-1, and now the timeout stops the game clock at 1:34. But again,
we got a timeout now. St. Thomas Aquinas, Bishop Miege. Aquinas leading that game 34-28. We got a final now. Paola scoring that late touchdown against Tonganoxie. They win it over Tonganoxie 35-28. And what a battle that game was. And Tonganoxie coming back from 2 touchdowns to tie it, but then Paola with the answer late in the game to win it 35-28.
Certainly going to be 2 teams. They're going to be a factor this year in Class 4A football. Both Paola and Tonganoxie. Another one of those teams that's going to be on the 4A East is St. Thomas, or not St. Thomas Aquinas, but Miege that's playing St. Thomas Aquinas as well. So just 23 seconds left in here. I'm kind of surprised they didn't line up and just run a play there instead of spiking it and going directly to 4th down, because now, of course, you really only have one opportunity, incomplete pass here, game over. So, unfortunately,
here.
Clock rolling down.
And 4th and 14, 4th quarter, 23 seconds to go, and Dodge City has to convert here. Here's the snap out of the shotgun. Tucker Smith, the quarterback. He's going deep down the field, and that pass is over everybody's head and incomplete, and that should be your ball game with 16 seconds left. Garden City will take over on downs, leading 14-8, and it looks like the Hatchet is going back to Garden City after spending a couple seasons in Dodge City. So another great finish there. Let's go back now. Bishop Miege, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Aquinas just scored again. The extra point is good. And St. Thomas Aquinas now on its way to a big win over Bishop Miege with 2 late 4th quarter touchdowns.
And still very early on in the season for these teams. It's Bishop Miege's first game, and man, what a first game. You open up with Aquinas, but what people don't realize about Eastern Kansas League in the past, I know Mill Valley is not in that league anymore, but you could play Blue Valley North one week. You could play Blue Valley the next week. You could play Aquinas the next week. You could play Miege the next week. You can play a state champion caliber opponent 4 or 5 weeks in a row in this conference. Every game is going to be like that. Of course, schedules are a little bit different this year, but first game, of course, for Bishop Miege. It is the second game for Aquinas. I got some more finals coming in across the state, although I got some 4th quarter scores first. Cheney leading Garden Plain. That was a little bit of surprise to see that 37-7. That's kind of a domination there. Norton up on Russell 28-0. Inman beat Sacred Heart 50-0. And how about this? I like this because a lot of people always say, well, 3A can't compete with 6A. There's no way, shape, or form that they can. Well, Topeka Hayden's probably not the best team in Class 3A. And last year, Perry-Lecompton beat them twice. Topeka Hayden beating Manhattan High School, a 6A really good program, 36-14. So I know that Hayden's not your typical Class 3A opponent. That just gives you an idea that those teams at the top of 3A, they can compete with a lot of teams in Kansas.
Well, no doubt. And right now we're watching Holton against hold on here. Yeah, this is Holton and Perry-Lecompton. We've bounced around so much, I'm kind of losing track of where I am in the state right now. And Perry-Lecompton leading 28-14. And this is an impressive performance from Perry-Lecompton tonight, even though they are a fine football team. And as Chet pointed out earlier, not a huge surprise. Hey, let's go to Dodge City because there's a big celebration. There it is. Garden City taking home the Hatchet over Dodge City tonight, and that is a big, big deal for those young men and those students out there to win that big rivalry game against the Red Demons, and they'll be celebrating all the way back home tonight. No doubt about that. So as they win it 14-8 over the Red Demons.
And some more updates coming in across the state. We highlighted Oakley last week as the American Implement Western Kansas Team of the Week. Oakley is going to be 3-0. They're beating El Saline 34-7. Shout out to Coach Hannick and company, as they were a team that struggled to even win a league game in like 5 years. As we go to Hayes.
This is Smoky Valley and Hillsboro.
Oh, I was like, look like Hayes.
Hillsboro just scored the touchdown as this game is close, 38-36 in the fourth, but the touchdown there is going to, let's see what I think it's Hillsboro's on top already, but anyway, that is a nice looking field there, by the way, in Hillsboro. The Trojans.
Yeah. Tabor College also plays on that field, the same town that they're in there in Hillsboro. It's Bishop Miege now on your screen. Quarterback Timothy Dorsey, as he gets sacked here as they trail 41-28 here in the fourth quarter.
You were mentioning Hayes, though. You think Hayes did win over Liberal tonight, 27-13 was the final. Again, St. Thomas Aquinas on its way, looks like, to a victory over Bishop Miege, leading 41-28. As Chet pointed out, this is Bishop Miege's first game of the season. And, Chet, I want to talk one thing. Last week we mentioned this. Mill Valley, after their impressive win over Derby, everybody said, oh, boy, Mill Valley. And they are the number one team right now and the top team in 5A. But, boy, 5A is loaded, and St. Thomas Aquinas making a bit of a statement tonight, perhaps.
Yeah, and last year it took a field goal in the semifinal, Mill Valley beating Aquinas in the semifinal. And then, of course, Wichita Northwest has been to back-to-back title games as a state runner-up, and they're knocking at the door, and they're in week number 2 playing as well. So we got to look at them and some teams out on, of course, in the Wichita area and the west part of the bracket as well. But I think it goes about 5 deep. We can't just sit here and say Mill Valley is going to be the winner. I think Aquinas is every bit as good this year, probably as Mill Valley. It should be an outstanding matchup. And, of course, you see here, the final tonight, Perry-Lecompton, a very solid victory. And right now, if I'm picking a 3A state championship, if somebody asked me today, who is playing in your 3A state championship, depending on what goes on at the quarterback situation at Perry-Lecompton, I'm going to say Perry-Lecompton versus Andale. Now, Topeka Hayden could certainly factor in that as well. As we go back to Hillsboro in this matchup.
And once again, Perry-Lecompton won that game 29-14. I think I said 28-14 earlier, but Perry-Lecompton over Holton. And let's check in on the Hillsboro Smoky Valley game. There's a minute 23 left.
It's kind of come up too, along with Blanchett. Kick it, catch it, and go down. Good job, whoever that was, whoever got that one. Pickering.
Yeah, Vincent Pickering makes the catch there. Oddly enough, they did have 6 guys on one side and 4 on the other. I want to make sure
Hillsboro going for the onside kick there after the touchdown, and then Smoky Valley looks like came up with the football as we listened in there on the broadcast.
Looks like 2 timeouts left for Hillsboro.
Minute 22 left to go in the game. 38-36 the score as back to Bishop Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas, and this one late in the fourth quarter. Aquinas on top 41-28 on its way to a victory over the Stags of Bishop Miege.
And Miege lost so much from 1 year ago. Daniel Jackson, a record-breaking receiver at Minnesota now. Felipe Wesley transferred out to a school in California, and he had, offers from Arizona State. And Bryson Cobbins, a 4-year starter in the backfields at Missouri Western, and you lost some key defensive players as well. So this is still a very good team, but there is some inexperience there overall. Not at the quarterback position, and not at the tight end, wide receiver / position for Mac Muller. But outside of that, there is some inexperience on this team, but it's still Miege. Miege is still going to be the favorite in that Class 4A. But after watching Paola and Toganoxie, maybe they can hang around this year with the Stags, who have just completely dominated everything in their path of Class 4A football. And it's, Leon, not been close in any way, shape, or form for the last 6 years.
Yeah, there's some people have argued, Bishop Miege, it's some years may have been the best team, period, in the state, no matter the class. They are a tremendous team out of the Kansas City area. But St. Thomas Aquinas, looks like the Saints are going to go on to win this game as they are leading 41-28 late in the fourth quarter. Earlier in the show, we heard from Connor Nickel, who was covering the Hoisington-Halstead game. Hoisington Cardinals over Halstead tonight, 32-22. It's Hoisington's first win over Halstead since 2008. Cardinals led by Josh Ball with a career-high 13 carries, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hoisington now has a 14-game winning streak at home. So the Cardinals, they got it going right now.
And Bishop Miege has it going right now as well.
Let's listen in, see how much time is left on this game. In this game, see if Miege has the opportunity. They're going to obviously kick a
right there.
Onside kick after this.
And I tell you what, you mentioned a couple times, Tim, there's going to be a couple plays where they're going to look back on film where he just missed guys that could have been touchdowns, and maybe a different outcome here.
I think we just have under 10 seconds to play in this game.
Is up and good. We're going to go ahead and keep it right here. 41-35.
And you see at 41-35 now, Aquinas, and Bishop Miege not going away. I probably wrote him off a little too early, but the time running out, they're going to probably try to kick an extra point or an onside kick. We'll keep an eye on that as we head back to Hillsboro against Smoky Valley. 38-36, Smoky Valley on top.
6 seconds to run this next play. You're looking at about 107. You take 40 seconds off the clock after that. You're down to about 27 seconds is all they're going to have. And I would assume Smoky would run all the time off and take a timeout. And then go ahead and make the decision on what they want to do. But again, then you start looking, you need to punt the ball out of bounds. I don't want to see Hillsboro get the ball on a free catch and give them the opportunity to get the ball up the field. And again, they're just so deadly with their passing game. You almost don't want to see them have any seconds. So
you want to get a first down.
You want
to get a first down.
All right, that's Hillsboro and Smoky Valley as they're deciding what to do there in the final seconds. Let's head back to St. Thomas Aquinas, where Bishop Miege now trailing 41-35 after that touchdown, and no doubt will attempt the onside kick here and try to get the ball back with, I believe, just 6 seconds left to go in the game.
Has any chance, you got to recover this right now. Steven Neenan has got it teed up in the middle of the field. The run up, the kick, takes a hop, but right to Kammerer, who covers it up. And Aquinas is going to be able to kneel this one out and get out of here 2-0.
Yeah, that's your ball game right there. This Aquinas recovers the onside kick and will hold on to win that game, 41-34 over Bishop Miege. 41-35.
Got some final scores coming in across the state. Lawrence over Olathe West, 42-14. Iola over Wellsville, 20-6. Osage City over Mission Valley, 45-8. Derby beating Carroll tonight, 35-21. How about this? The Salthawks of Hutch High, if this is right, coming in on Scores in Kansas, beating May South tonight, 34-33. Maybe that is the surprise of the state so far that we've seen. Washburn Rural beating Pittsburgh High, 21-14. Cimarron beating Scott City tonight, 22-13. Andover beating Salina Central 35-6. Lakeside over Osborne 44-34. TMP over Plainville 20-13. Syracuse is 3-0 under Jordan Ursik. They're out in the Mountain Time Zone 27-0 over Stanton County. Cunningham beats Fowler 40-6. Valley Heights over Horton 60-8. Of course, we mentioned Paola over Tongi 35-28. Wamego beats Clay Center 34-21. Atchison County beats McLeod 34-20. Sabetha beating Nemaha Central, and that rivalry matchup nearby there in Big 7 of two powers over the last several years. Sabetha 29, Nemaha Central 22. Southeast of Saline continues to flex its muscles. It goes 3-0, 42-0 over Ellsworth. We mentioned Hoisington beating Halstead 32-22, and then of course the Hatchet earlier. Garden City 14, Dodge City 8, as more finals come in across the state at Scores in Kansas.
Boy, some good games, some great finishes tonight. Chet, as again we're watching Smoky Valley and Hillsboro, and 47 seconds to go in this game. Smoky Valley just got the first down, and it looks like that might wrap that one up, but they did call a timeout, and we'll keep it right there. As again, some terrific football tonight, Chet.
Yeah, really good football. Bentonville, Arkansas, beating Mill Valley 5-28. Bentonville with the interception in the end zone with 9 seconds left in the game. So according to kpreps.com, the tweet said Mill Valley quarterback Cooper Marsh injured the play prior after being hit while sliding. So that's a good showing, though. I mean, that's big-time football, over double the enrollment probably, Leon, of Mill Valley, a Class 5A. They're 7A. Bentonville, Arkansas, and a team that has 4 or 5 Division I players beat Rockhurst a week ago. So a solid showing for Mill Valley. I don't care if they lost or not. They don't need to look down upon that loss. They hung with one of the top teams in the state of Arkansas tonight. That's a much bigger opponent.
And that game was played at Mill Valley tonight, or is that in Arkansas?
At Mill Valley.
At Mill Valley. Bentonville, Arkansas, of course, the home of Walmart. Try to get a little trivia on Arkansas there, too. So as Mill Valley holds, or Bentonville holds on to beat Mill Valley in this game we're just looking at in our screen, Smoky Valley about to wrap it up. They have wrapped it up. A 38-36 victory over Hillsboro. That's a good one. Smoky Valley defeats the Trojans, holding them off 38-36. The Vikings of Smoky Valley win that one. And it has been a terrific third week of Kansas Football Fridays. We've seen some very close games come down to the wire, and it's been a lot of fun, Chet. What can we look forward to? Well, next week, week number 4. It's always 1 week at a time during this, I guess, new normal in Kansas high school football.
Well, it's really 1 hour at a time right now because you never know what's going to happen with games moving around, games scheduled, all that kind of stuff. The thing is, we're fortunate to be going into week 4 in Kansas. I know it's not what everybody signed up for and what they thought they would have this year, but we have a lot of teams playing. So that's the cool thing out there. There were some surprises across the state tonight. There were a lot of, I felt, great about tonight more so than last week. A lot of the games we went to last week that we thought were going to be good games weren't really good games. And tonight that wasn't the case, Leon. We had to keep our eye on so many games tonight because there were so many good games. We almost lost track of some of those. So I think we figured out a little bit more about teams, but that will continue slowly because some teams playing week number 1 next week, some teams tonight. Everybody seems like they're in a different week. And then district play starts next week for 3A. And 2A and 1A football as well. 8-man, I believe, already has started. So certainly next week's going to matter a little bit more for those Class 3A and 2A teams.
Well, we're about to wrap things up. What can we look forward to Sports in Kansas later tonight? Keeping up to date with scores and performances?
Yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff. We have a tweet out right now, what impressed us tonight. Connor Nickel does a recap for us on Saturday morning. He'll have some of the top performances across the state, and we'll be keeping everybody updated with top performers tonight. Tweet it out as soon as I get off this show, and then, of course, have a full-on recap and previews next week as well. And not only just for football, we have volleyball stuff going on, some cross-country updates, the Sports in Kansas All Access show with Bethany Bowman. She usually interviews 3 or 4 people across the state and have that up as well as every Friday. We have the statewide Kansas Kickoff show that Sean Boston hosts along with myself and Matt Gilmore of K-Preps. But it's been great, Leon, to have week 3 and really excited and looking forward to week 4.
All right, Chet, we're going to wrap it up. It's been a fun night as we've brought you live action, scores, and so much more across the state of Kansas. You've been watching Kansas Football Friday, presented by Sports in Kansas. For Chet Copeland, our producer, director Mike Nelson, our executive producer Paul Nelson in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm your host, Leon Liebel. We'll see you next week on Kansas Football Friday.